Tick-tock, time to rock. Good evening, good morning, good afternoon. What are you eating, a popsicle?
Yeah.
Like a kid? Like what kids eat?
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
I am a kid, man. I am a kid. We are all children.
All
We
right,
are all
so
children of God.
all right, it's the show with D Wood and Fro P here. Fro P.
Yes. It's actually Afro. So.
Afro. Okay. That's better. Afro. All right, D Wood and Afro here, ladies and gentlemen. And we are here to determine whether the new Pope should be allowed to join or participate in our sacred Protestant Eastern Orthodox Brotherhood Club. Can he be part of our sacred Protestant Eastern Orthodox Brotherhood Club? Or should he be banned for his popery?
Sorry.
That's what we'll be deciding, because Francis 2.0. We got Francis 2.0 over here. People are saying Francis 2.0. See, if Pope Francis were around, we would say, oh, nice, very, very sweet guy, but not based enough on topics like Islam to join the Protestant Eastern Orthodox Brotherhood Club.
The funny thing is, I always liked, always liked and respected Pope Francis, and not necessarily. I guess I just didn't really look at it the way that other people usually look at it. I didn't look at it as like, oh, he's a hardcore, he's super based, or he does everything the traditionally perfect way, but rather that I don't know, struck me as a force for good in the world. Although you could say, we could evaluate it and say that we think he's very, very misled, especially when it comes to Islam and dealing with Islamic societies and with Muslim societies and with borders and all that. That said, always had nothing but respect and love for the guy.
Yeah, I think it's along the lines of like, hey, really, 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 really nice, sweet guy in a time where you kind of need someone pretty tough, right? It's like if a fight was breaking out and stuff. Let me put it this way. You could be, let's suppose you're roommates with like the nicest, friendliest guy in the world. He's like Mr. Rogers. He's putting on his slippers. Great, awesome roommate. Keeps stuff clean and stuff. But then a gang of bandits are attacking. He's like, I kind of wish I, had a Navy SEAL as my roommate or something like that, Anyway. Yeah. Lots of messed up stuff going on in the world. And you might want someone who's gonna take a stand against some of the right things. And I never paid much attention to Francis except when it would come up. And it was mainly after the Charlie Hebdo massacre when he kind of sided with the guys who were massacring the cartoonists. I was like, well, okay, I'm not gonna be interested.
That was pretty messed up, isn't it? What he says, if somebody said something about my mother, they would think,
yeah, don't be surprised when you get punched in the face. But he said that directly. Hey, what do you think about? What are your comments on all the cartoonists who got killed for making cartoons of Muhammad? And his response was, well, if you talk about my mom, don't get surprised when you get punched in the face. And all the Muslims like, yay, our hero. I'm like, okay, this is not a good time to be supporting this from the Pope. With that said, everyone screws up. Everyone screws up a lot, and so everyone can have a slip. Everyone can side with the wrong. So anyway. Point is, never saw anything that would make me go, oh, this guy's actually something more significant than a really nice guy who's trying to be friends with some of the wrong people and so on. Anyway, but I'm kind of like you in the sense that he seemed like a nice guy. But
yeah, I agree.
You need time. This is a time when we need tough people. Tough people. Now, this guy's from Chicago, and he's from America. So that already makes him way tougher. Where was Francis from? You know where Francis was from?
Argentina.
His name's Francis, dude. Come on.
Well, that was
How
so.
many
His name was
How many Francises you met in Argentina? Come on, AP. So something's not right here already.
yeah. He was actually the first pope who named himself Francis, which was very surprising to me.
Yeah, because
After
he was the bad guy from he was the guy who stole Pee Wee Herman's bike in Pee Wee's Big Adventure. So why would you name yourself after that guy?
Exactly. So why would you name yourself that? But no, his name was Jorge Mario Bergoglio, and he named himself Francis after Francis of Assisi, I think.
Oh,
So
okay.
that's what he did.
Oh, okay.
But,
Francis of Assisi is pretty cool.
but I was it's kind of surprising to me that he was the first who actually chose the name, who chose him to name himself after Francis. Many popes do this whole thing where they name themselves after a prior pope. In order to kind of, I guess, send a message and to kind of establish a program of doing something that Pope did, or continuing in the tradition of that certain Pope, or, for example, with Pope Leo the 14th, he named himself Leo because the previous Leo was struggling at a time where certain new things were arising in finding ways to tackle those things and bring unity. So he chose that as well. So this is what many of the popes do.
So what do you think this Leo guy is going to name himself? Hey,
the whole "I am very dumb" rule doesn't work.
It doesn't work. You know what's funny? When I see like Pope Leo the 14th, but they write it in Roman numerals, I'm like, why don't you just say? If you say the letters of the Roman numerals, it actually sounds cooler. Like, what sounds cool? If you walk up and say, "Hey, I'm Pope Leo the 14th," it's like, "Oh, okay, you're number 14 in a long line of guys who went with the name Leo. So you're just another Leo." Whereas if you walked in the room, you're like, "Yo, what's up? I'm Pope Leo XIV. What's up?" I wouldn't mess with that dude. I'd be like, "Whoa, this is the XIV here, right? He's a new thing. He's not just number 14 in a succession. He's the XIV."
Or I'm Leo Xiv.
XIV represent Xiv,
bro.
Watch jihadis of the world. Watch out, because the XIV.
I'm an XIV. XIV.
You're down with XIV. That's dumb. XIV. That's pretty cool. I would recommend that. Like, seriously, guys. It would be fun if Pope started calling himself Pope Leo XIV. That just sounds cooler and more based. Significantly more based. All right, guys. So here's the bottom. I'm just going to break it down for you guys.
Yes.
As you can already see, we had Pope Francis for a while. I knew very little about Pope Francis. There was the guy before him who was actually tough and like was talking trash about Islam, and then sound like they didn't like him for that. How dare you talk trash about Islam, even though everything he was saying was completely correct. But even that, I didn't know much about him. But I knew he sounded tougher to me. And then they're like, "Oh no, this guy's too strong and base. We need someone who's super nice and sweet. Who's going to melt the hearts of everyone in the world." So they went with that. And then we got this new guy. And so I know absolutely nothing about this guy. So I pulled up a couple of things. We've got a video of his first homily. So his first homily as Pope. So this is his first homily. We've got that. Then we've got Cameron Bertuzzi's reaction to it. We all know Cameron is going to be like, he's going to say, Cameron Bertuzzi is going to be like, "Hey, this is the best homily I ever seen. The meatballs and the spaghetti sauce. So when I watch the homily."
Yeah. This is how Cameron Bertuzzi does. He brings all the Italian stuff over here, which is completely unnecessary, but he also makes good points. So I guess it could be worth watching. The thing with you said you don't know anything about the new pope. The funny thing about this is that this was one of those instances where the media was completely misled and dumbfounded because everybody.
You got the dumb right when you're talking about the media.
Everybody, including all the analysts,
the media
all the
was dumb. They were all dumb. Founded.
Yeah, and all the media, they all came together and all started arguing about who is going to be the next pope, and they all made their guesses, top list of candidates who will most likely be pope. And this guy is very very likely to be the next pope. It is almost guaranteed, and so on. And then betting sites and all this, like bet for who you believe will be the next pope, and they all put their bets on, and then somebody whom nobody ever mentioned became pope. And they all lost.
They were all humiliated. But Pope Leo made a killing because he was betting on himself the entire time, taking all the bets. Yeah, we all know I'm going to be Pope. Anyway, so that's how he got rich. He won all the bets and then was able to buy himself the spot of the Pope. Or he was able to like work behind the scenes like, guys, I got a lot of cash riding on this. If you just set off the right smoke signal right now, then I can make it worth all your while. So something like that happened. So anyway, we're gonna check out the first homily. We're gonna check out Cameron Bertuzzi's cute little video, and we're gonna check out Chris Cuomo interviewed Pope Leo's brother. So this is a guy who grew up with him, spent his entire life playing with him and stuff like this, riding bikes together, and he's gonna tell us what kind of guy this is. I have not watched any of these. I mean, I pulled up the clips and stuff, and so you kind of see a little bit of them and stuff while you're getting them ready and stuff like that. But other than that, I have not watched any of these. So hopefully I, as well as everyone else, will have a better understanding of the Pope, of the new Pope. And then we'll decide whether he can join, whether he is fit to join, whether he is good enough to join, smart enough to join, based enough to join our Protestant Eastern Orthodox Brotherhood Club.
He'll be the leader.
Yep. We'll see. Or we might say, nope, this guy's he can't join our club. Let's take these first couple super chats and we'll jump into the first video, which is his homily, his first homily as Pope. Abraham says, should we trust the new Pope? Do you mean the hippie Eastern Orthodox Pope on the screen? No.
Yes.
We are talking about the Roman Catholic Pope. The Pope has insane aura, to be honest. We will judge.
I have to say, I haven't seen the other stuff that he said so far, except that I looked up something today where he, where people were saying like there were these headlines: "Breaking: The Pope calls for immediate ceasefire in Gaza." And I thought, I bet he didn't just say ceasefire in Gaza. So I went and checked it out, and he actually called for the immediate release of all hostages.
Whoa!
And then and for ceasefire in Gaza, which of course lots of the propagandists conveniently skipped. So seemed like a very very good thing to go with. So he at first called for the immediate release of all hostages held by Hamas, and then also for the ceasefire in Gaza. Nicely done, nicely said. Before that, we were watching live when people were waiting, and when the Pope was announced, I was watching it live with my wife, and I have to say, as the guy came out, as a new Pope came out and spoke on the balcony, there was something very very distinct about him. My first impression, which is also a first impression that many others had, was that this guy seems extraordinarily, surprisingly shy and humble, and very, very
I thought you were most humble.
Well, after me.
Yeah.
He seemed very emotional. He was getting all teary just speaking to the people and all that. It seemed like a very good guy, but you know, we never know. But so far, it seems that he's a good guy. He has said good things so far.
All you did was watch him walk out on stage for something. You're like, oh, I know everything about this man. I have peered into his soul.
Well, David, there is one thing you need to know about me. Only 5 seconds of looking at a person is enough for me to understand the entire lifetime, the entire personality, the ins and outs, and everything that this person will go through and end up with in a lifetime. That is all I need.
Ashley here says the Pope has insane aura, to be honest. Really? So you saw it? You saw the aura. What color is it?
Yellow.
Rick James's aura is orange, according to Charlie Murphy. So if you've actually seen it, you can tell us what color it is. AP says yellow.
Yellow.
AP, you don't mess with the Zohan. Oh, you do look like the Zohan a little bit. What that? At the beginning when he had his I think they called it a Jufro.
Yeah,
Jews can get these awesome froze, but they look, that's the Zohan, man.
it's pretty racist of you to say, but yeah.
No, it's not. You could get there are Jews who get cool froze, man, and they rock them, and they look
It's
super cool.
most racist thing I've ever heard.
You're racist. You're sitting here, literally, with a pretend Jew fro on.
I'm African, man. What are you talking about?
Triconius Constantinus says yes. So we've got a vote. Oh, we could take a vote later on. After we get to know the Pope by checking out his homily and listening to his brother and stuff, then we will take a vote on whether we should trust the new Pope or whether he will be banned until further notice from the Eastern Orthodox Protestant Brotherhood Alliance. Practicing Catholic here. Just want to say I respect the work both you, D. Wood, and AP do. Unfortunately, 2/3 of Catholic bishops are ignorant in Islam.
True.
That's true. That's true. But don't try to butter us up by being nice and thinking that that's going to make us let the new Pope into our club.
Well, to be very honest, it's like when people go into clergy, when they do stuff like becoming a priest or whatever it is, they usually focus on learning tons of stuff that is just about their own religion and their own religious practices, and engaging with people and consulting them and all that, and then engaging in the regular worship day and night. And I understand that when they do that kind of stuff, it gets very difficult to actually inform yourself about other religions, which is why I'm actually very impressed when I see a priest who is well informed about Islam. Remember when we listened to that one Orthodox priest?
I forgot about that dude.
Yeah,
that dude was very super impressed. Knowledgeable. Yeah,
I was very impressed because it's true for Orthodox priests, for Catholic priests, for bishops. It's also true for much of or maybe most of the Protestant, pastors and clergy and all that. It's just these people, despite being very good leaders and all that, usually don't know much about Islam. And about Muslims.
And it's just like that would be okay and lots of times in history, but right now it's a bad time to not know about Islam. This would be a really good time for people to know about Islam. Yeah. Third Orange here says, off topic, but Sean McDowell just dropped an interview with Rob Liefeld about Christianity, violence, and comics. This is what I told you about before in a previous show, AP. Yeah, I was there, Third Orange. I was there for that. I was doing my interviews with Sean McDowell at the same time. So I did an interview with Sean McDowell, then he recorded Rob Liefeld, and then I did another interview with Sean McDowell. But yeah, that's AP. That's when I told him, I was like, hey, I got these comic books. They're still in a box in my attic. I'm thinking about giving them I got to give them to charity, but I got the first appearance of Cable and stuff. So he's the guy, Rob, for anyone who doesn't know, Rob Liefeld, he's the guy who invented Deadpool and Cable and a bunch of other characters. He was huge in the 1990s and so on. Now they're making movies out of this stuff, but he's a Christian. And so, Sean McDowell's interview, I was like, hey, you're inventing these characters who are doing all these messed up stuff, and look how he is in the movies and stuff, but you're a Christian, so what's going on there? And so they had a really cool discussion, but I brought this up with Rob Liefeld. I was like, hey, I've got these comics that are like important ones, and they're worth, some of them are worth a lot of money, but I stole them. I stole them. And so I don't want them anymore, but I can't sell them and keep the money because they're stolen. I can't give them back to the store. The store's not there anymore. So I feel like I got to give them to charity or something. And he goes, well, sounds like God wanted you to have them. And I'm sitting there thinking, well, I smashed the window of a store and I stole them all. It's weird. It's a weird way for God to give them to me. But then I was actually thinking, well, the guy who made them actually says they're mine. So do I have to give them away? I don't know. I think I'm still going to give them away.
That's true.
But I told him next time I see him, I'll have him autograph them. Then they'll be worth more. Then I can give them to charity. And that's about the best I can do. It all depends on if the popery goatery hails Ezra as son of God. Last pope failed to include Ezra and so was smited by chains of narration. That's true. The old pope, the last pope, did not include Ezra.
Yeah. This is how he get punished. This is why he died.
Not to be random, but Afro P, we've already established.
It's Afro.
It's Afro. Afro. Looks like Keith Green with darker hair. He was a Christian singer in the 1970s. Everyone could look up Keith Green and decide whether that is true. But AP looks like a lot of people when he puts on his cool fro. Yeah. AP, making fun of your glasses. I'm a Protestant, though throughout the last 10 years, I've
We don't want,
first.
we don't want Protestants here. Get out of here. We don't
What?
like,
No.
but we don't want
What are you
Protestants.
talking about, man? This guy's part of the Protestant
Oh,
Eastern
sorry.
Orthodox Brotherhood Club.
Oh, sorry. Yeah.
I've first contemplated Mark 9:38-41. Those who aren't against us are for us before seeking to outright attack my Catholic brothers.
True. True.
That is smart because again, you know, if you have differences with someone, it's like, okay, where should these differences affect us in our relationship? How much? Like there can be differences. You can have such significant differences like, I don't want to be around you ever. Get away from me. Or it could be like, hey, we disagree, but we're still friends and stuff. Or it could be like, hey, we disagree on this and this and this, but we agree on this and this and this and this and this. And so that's enough to stick together. Anyway, we'll have to figure that out. I've never paid a whole lot of attention to it. The nice guy example is Bishop Robert Barron. Gentle, compassionate, very intelligent, explains Catholicism very well, but his views on Islam were ignorant, but he got called out and backtracked. That's good. Well, it's actually kind of difficult. You can actually be somewhat sympathetic towards the guys who like sound like they're siding with Islam or defending that or something. If you do not know what it teaches and you just kind of listen to things, you're kind of bombarded all your entire life. It's not a different situation for priests and so on. They're bombarded their entire lives being told that Islam's a religion of peace and tolerance and sugar-coated raindrops too. So you can understand why someone concludes that without ever actually studying, but it's just dangerous times to be ignorant and gullible. Shameless plug from Apostate of Allah. That's how you do it. Hey, Solaria, see? Shameless plug. You just say shameless plug. And everyone, Apostate of Allah and Solaria have both been posting videos about the Islamic dilemma. Yeah, Apostate of Allah, I saw your video pop up. That's the one, I haven't watched it yet. I saw it right when I was getting ready for this show. But on how you respect the Quran more than Muslims do, that's good. We all need to be making that point. It is funny. It is funny. We respect the Quran more than Sajid Lipim. And I eat the Quran regularly.
It is.
And I'm more respectful towards it than they are. I'm eating the Quran, and I'm still more respectful because I at least let it say what it says.
They're eating the Quran.
Apostate of Allah says, shameless plug, I posted another ID video featuring chapter 6. I was looking for my khamar for the video, and twice I mistakenly picked up my black laundry bag. I couldn't stop laughing.
That's pretty good.
That was pretty culturally insensitive to say that.
Pretty good.
The original Pope Leo convinced Attila the Hun. Oh yeah, I did see that because I looked up why he went with Pope Leo, or I saw it in an article somewhere, something like that.
Oh, yeah.
But just no, did I see it on? I'm trying to think because I haven't researched this. So I'm trying to think of where I saw it. I did pull up Wikipedia. I don't remember if it was on Wikipedia. I did see that though somewhere. I might have saw that on Twitter or something. But anyway, yeah, Pope Leo convinced Attila the Hun not to sack Rome. Of course, it helped that there was a vision of St. Peter and Paul armed with swords hovering over Attila the Hun, he admitted.
That's the thing. So it is very well known. This is also how I really began to respect Pope Leo. So he was there during the.
He's been a pope for like 8 seconds. You mean the original Pope Leo or the new Pope Leo?
The original Pope Leo.
Oh, okay. Never mind. We'll let you slide.
The first. I believe he was around when during the Council of Chalcedon, if I'm not mistaken. He was very instrumental there. But the other issue was that as the Huns were overrunning Europe and coming to sack Constantinople and not Constantinople, sack Rome and raid it and get all of his riches, it is confirmed that that Pope Leo the First actually went out there and had a conversation with Attila the Hun, and as a result of the conversation, Attila the Hun, despite standing before Rome with his armies, decided to turn around and go away. Nobody knows what happened. So there are only some writings, some reports, some legends. Very, very famous stories say that there was that Attila and the Huns saw visions of the angels and all that standing behind the Pope. Others say that the Pope just gave a very, very powerful speech and all that. But whatever happened, Attila the Hun, who was coming to crush that place and take everything, turned around and walked away. It's very, very impressive, Very powerful stuff.
Because Attila the Hun didn't turn back too much, so
He didn't. He cut off his own. He cut. The Huns had this incredible practice of cutting their own faces and making him bleed to scare their opponents and to
That
be
would
as
look
brutal
scary.
as possible to force their opponents to submit and drop everything and just give their belongings. So they clearly didn't care much about conventions, but they still were convinced by the Pope there not to enter Rome. Very, very.
Yeah, and it's always funny when people do stuff like that in battles that like scares the crap out of people. Like in Africa, there was that General Butt Naked. He went by General Butt Naked. They called him General Butt Naked. He would strip down butt naked before every battle. He believed that it made him invisible, but then no one wants to come near him because he's got his dong flailing around and stuff, right? So people don't want to go near him. So he thought it made him invisible in battle. So anyway, but I mean, just imagine a bunch of people just like charging at you like butt naked and stuff like this. Be like, get away from me. So anyway, or then you've got Muhammad, and it's like, how did Muhammad win that battle? It's like, well, they heard about what happened with him and Al Zut, and it's like, gosh, if he's willing to go through that, then we don't want to mess with this dude. We don't want to mess with him. What are we going to do to this dude? How can we possibly degrade this guy anymore? Then he's already been degraded. Anyway, weird stuff.
You see.
In 2008, Pope Benedict. That's a guy's name. That was the based Pope. Didn't have a long run though. Pope
He resigned.
Hmm?
He actually resigned.
Yeah, I know. That's what's weird.
One of the very, very few popes who actually resigned on his own accord.
And one of the very few popes, in recent time at least, who was based against Islam. Quoted Byzantine Emperor Emmanuel II, "Show me just what Muhammad brought that was new, and there you will find things only evil and inhuman, such as his command to spread by the sword the faith he preached."
You see? You see?
And for that, he became so hated by so many people that may have actually had something to do with why he had to resign. This should be titled, "David Discusses the Pope with a Sasquatch." If he were a Sasquatch, he would be much more blurry.
That's true.
Thanks, D. Wood and Schumann, for vids on Mormonism, now leaving for Orthodoxy. Keep up the fight. AP, your books are diagonal. Love you both. God bless. Your books are diagonal. All right, so you're leaving for Orthodoxy. Sounds like you're leaving Mormonism for Orthodoxy, and that allows you to join the Protestant Eastern Orthodox Brotherhood Alliance.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Mormonism is a waste of time. So, yeah.
Every time church split, end up Islam spreading, i.e. Ephesus 431. After a century, Islam was created, split of 1054, Seljuk taking Byzantine in 1071. Yeah, that's another idea, guys. Division over things actually gives a massive advantage to people who want to violently subjugate you. And that's why it's a bad time to be ignorant of Islam. It's a bad time to be divided over a bunch of stuff.
It's a bad time.
Hey, how do you pronounce this last name? Do you know?
Whose last name?
It looks like Prevost, but Prevost.
Prevost.
Why don't you look that up while I take some super chat? Can you find his name pronounced by someone?
Yes.
Hey, does anyone know how to write the pronunciation? First of all,
Francis Prevost.
Prevost. Is it Prevost? Or are you just making that up out of your own head?
Pope
Leo, a.k.a. Robert, I know how to pronounce Robert. Prevost is an Augustinian priest, an order founded by St. Augustine.
Oh, it's French, I believe. It's Prévost. I don't know. What is it? It's French. That's funny. Because I think he took his last name from...
He's from Chicago, and his name's Robert. Am I going to have to call him Robert? Robert Prévost. Robert Prévost.
Yeah, I don't know. I think... I don't know, man.
You got to click on a video from like 5 years ago where they introduce him, and they will say, Cardinal such and such, or Bishop such and such. I'll just keep reading these things until you go. Augustinian priest. Order founded by St. Augustine. D. Wood, PhD in philosophy. Did you study Augustine? Yeah, somewhat. Thoughts on what? Thoughts on Augustine? Yeah, Augustine's awesome.
Prévost.
Are you kidding me? I'm not saying
Prévost. That's it.
Are you serious? Are you joking or are you serious? I feel like you're pranking me.
No, it's Prévost is the real way, but I doubt that people in in the English-speaking world actually pronounce it that way, so I don't really care. I'm not going to look up videos of them introducing them now. So,
Okay. All right. So we'll just say the Pope whose name shall forever be unknown by us, and we'll just call him Leo. Yeah, Augustine's cool. I don't know anything about the order of St. Augustine. Things that are the order of such and such don't necessarily always reflect. It's like you got Lutherans in church that you wouldn't agree with Luther on a bunch of stuff. So I don't know how much the Augustinians reflect Augustine. They may to a T. I don't know. The point is, you're asking me to comment on it, and I don't know. Islam is dead. Muhammad made bad biblical commentary combined with desert paganism, stories he heard, and his own autobiography for personal gain. God bless you and your ministry, David. Why is everyone talking trash about Islam? We all know who's the real Pope. Pope AP, leader of all Christians. Got a picture of you. But there you're wearing your hat and not your natural fro hair. What do you think of Fuentes buying likes on X? Wait, was he buying likes? I think AP. Are you listening to something, AP? I think he's listening to something, probably going for that name and doesn't even hear me. So what do you think of Fuentes buying likes on X? I had not heard of it. I will search for it. If I can find it in 10 seconds, I will. Fuentes buying likes. Is that a thing? Oh, okay. Yeah,
it's
popped up.
Prevost, man.
Huh?
It's Prevost. They just say Prevost on the news.
Prevost?
That's it. Yeah.
Not Prevost?
They just say Prevost. Prevost.
So the emphasis is on the second syllable. Prevost.
Yeah, they have no respect for French. They just say Prevost. What is this, man?
Pretty racist against French, but I like it. Nick Fuentes is purchasing likes. There's absolutely no way that in 60 seconds a reply receives 189 views and 169 likes. Don't believe people are buying likes on Twitter. Look at this ratio attempt on Nick Fuentes and then look at the retweets. Okay, so apparently people are posting all sorts of things where they're looking at the evidence and concluding that Nick is buying likes. Shocker, shocker, shocker.
I think there's a whole thing with Nick Fuentes and some other of the neo-Nazi Groper people using massive amounts of bots and getting massive amounts of likes that are completely inflated. And then also random comments, usually very, very brain-dead comments about random stuff. Elon Musk was supposed to get rid of all the bots and everything.
That is true. And it seemed like they were for a while. You'd see like numbers changing and you'd see people's subscriber counts dropping and stuff like this. But apparently it just didn't last. The emphasis on getting rid of those accounts didn't last. Pope Leo XIII did criticize unbridled capitalism, but he also vehemently criticized communism. That's the 13th. Pope Leo XIII also wrote the prayer to St. Michael. We're not talking about some pope from a trillion years ago. We're talking about this pope now. D-Wood, you should do a weekly live stream with Raymond Ibrahim.
You should.
But if I started doing a weekly live stream with Raymond Ibrahim, they'd be like, oh, where's AP? Are you leaving? What? Are you guys fighting? Let's make a video about why you guys are beefing.
Why did you not make something with AP?
Why can't you squash the beef? D-Wood, you're tempting me to change my name to Charity. Moroni, Home, Vision, Clarity. Yep, that's good. Change it to Charity. Pope Leo, for we are the people, we are the people whom God has chosen as his own so that we may declare the wonderful deeds of him who called us out of darkness into his marvelous light.
Yes.
Ismaili Yusuf collab when? Don't know. D, when are you converting to?
Catholic.
I think that's a little Eastern Orthodox symbol on there.
No, it's a Vatican flag.
I think that's got the little Eastern Orthodox cross on there.
No, it's a Vatican flag.
Why would I convert to the Vatican? We're getting impatient.
Yeah, when are you doing this, David?
I don't know.
Here's the funny thing. I actually tricked David to invite him to for the liturgy to the Orthodox Church by telling him that I'm inviting him just for my baptism and all that. Of course, the trick is to have him there for the divine liturgy, upon which he will be impressed and he will probably switch sides and go toward Eastern Orthodoxy. So it's it's in the works, but just not into your direction, but rather in the other direction. So.
Hey, wouldn't it be funny? Wouldn't it be funny if I go to your baptism and stuff, I'm sitting there recording, and then everyone like grabs me and beats the crap out of me and baptizes me?
Yeah, that would be funny, man.
That'd be pretty hilarious. What's funny is I would actually think that's pretty funny. Let's see, and we have Doc Monroe. No comment though. Thank you. Look at that hair. Did AP just nuke himself? Yes.
Yeah, this is my real hair, man. I was hiding it the entire time.
Oh, here, Daniel, mentioned you. Yeah, I saw your super chat beforehand. I replied, I said, you said, D Wood, how do I send you my Mahdi testimony video? There should be, although some people on certain browsers have trouble seeing it. But if you go to my YouTube homepage, there should be something that you can click on to get my email. If you don't see that for some reason, I think you mentioned in the comment you posted earlier that you tried sharing, that you shared it with me on X, but you didn't know if I seen it. I didn't see it. I don't know if you're on my most recent account because I had a couple. But if you're on the account that I use right now, what's your account name? Is it Daniel Jones? If so, I will check it out. Matter of fact, go ahead and send it now. Go ahead and share it with me on X now, and I'll go ahead and see it. If you got my real account. So look up Dr. David Wood. And if you're on that correct account and you send it here soon, I will see it. Attila the Hun was humiliated by Pope Leo. You see, he ran from his powerful dawah. Truly, Allah is the best of planners. This is all true. I'm Berliner mit Berliner. Hey, guys, what's up? What happened to AP? AP, do you remember my super chat months ago joking? Please no home search. Well, guess what happened?
What the? Are you serious?
What?
Did you really have your home searched or something? What happened, man?
Please no home search. Serious? Hang on, we got the follow-up. Suddenly, around 7 p.m. daily, an old lady with her dog walks near our house. Coincidence? I don't think so. Just kidding, but the lady is real.
Okay, cool. Wonderful.
You good awesome. Now? Sadly, the current pope seems to support open borders like his predecessor. The Catholic hierarchy doesn't understand Hijra nor cartels exploit.
Well, there is the thing. Here is the thing with the Vatican, with the popes, with the popery, right? There is one thing that I of course always respect about about clergy, about priesthood, and all that, which is their insights into religious matters and all that. But then they also often mix stuff into their preachings and their opinions that that they shouldn't be doing. They should be leaving that kind of stuff to other people, right? And this is where people like the popes and all sometimes go a little bit too far and go a little bit wrong and go a little bit out of line. You and I probably know more about Islam and about different religions and about geopolitics than these popes do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I have to say, one, I've seen mixed comments on this pope's position. I've seen like that he criticizes the Trump administration for being too mean and stuff with this. But open borders, I don't have to. I'd have to see that. I'd have to see that first. But AP, going along the lines of what you were just saying, you had, what's the guy's name? The new border guy, the border czar, Holman, something like that.
No idea.
Tom Holman. The guy's just brutal. He's like, I will get rid of every single illegal immigrant on the entire face of the earth. He's like super. I think he's going to have a heart attack. I'm just saying he seems like that, like constantly like stressed out and flipping out and enraged about everything. It's like, dude, you need to calm down, man. But anyway, they asked him, because he's a Catholic, and they're like, hey, what do you think about the Pope? This is the last Pope. What do you think about the Pope saying you need to stop going after these people, these poor people, targeting the border and stuff? He's like, hey, why don't you focus on being Pope and I'll focus on doing my job? But this is pretty funny. This is a Catholic dude saying, okay, you're the Pope. You have a job. Here's my job. I'm the expert on this. You're not the expert on this. And he's saying, hey, why don't you fix problems? You focus on fixing problems in the church. I'll focus on fixing problems at the border. But that was along the lines of what you were just saying. There are people who are experts in various areas. None of us is an expert. No one here is an expert on every area. And so even if you are the Pope, you are highly, highly important in certain areas. You did not just randomly get that position. That does not mean that you know about Islam or should be trusted on that topic until you've demonstrated that you know what you're talking about. Doesn't mean that you are an expert in various political issues and so on. So anyway, yeah, I'll have to see. I do not know what he is claiming, but we'll see. We must unify under the one true Pope, Pope AP, leader of all Christians.
Based.
Why Snape got that hair? A bad potion at Hogwarts? Yes.
Yes.
After hearing the story of the Pakistani grooming gang and Muhammad, I now understand the true meaning of the eyes are the leather strap of the anus. Oh, you're talking about the original grooming gang. The people of Al-Zut. Love you, D-Wood. Happy to reach leather strap level. Hey, AP, did you purposely make your bookshelf look like the Hellraiser cube?
Yes.
Oh, yeah. Because it's based. You don't even know what the Hellraiser. You don't even know what the Hellraiser cube is, man.
I do. I actually watched 2 of those movies, the first and the second.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Pretty messed up.
The first one is the only
I don't remember the cube though. I don't remember what it does.
That's how you unlock. That's how you unlock. You got to solve the puzzle box, man.
I know, but I don't remember what it looks like and what you do with it.
That opens a portal. There's like these. There's like the what is it? The Cenobites. That's Pinhead and all his. So you're here on Earth. You're here on Earth. You get this puzzle box. If you open this puzzle box, then that grants you access to this other dimension of these weird beings who are really messed up.
Yeah. Powerful.
You said happy to reach leather strap level. That's funny. I was thinking about the. I was thinking just because it's funny. So the memberships are leather strap. But it's only just leather strap. I only put the one, but I was thinking of making another level of Al-Zut. An Al-Zut level. I think that would be funny. Let's see. God created trillions of galaxies and died for us. Yeah, that's one of the great, awesome things in the Bible that people notice over and over. Like David notices this in the Psalms. Like, look at this universe, and yet God pays attention to us. Reason Answer said, "Why are you running from Sheikh?" Yeah, this is. Thought it was Sheikh the man of rationalized assertions. Notice, reason answers and rationalized assertions. This is Thaddeus's attempt at being witty. And oh, look, I'll make fake Muslim channel rationalized assertions. So he's got reasoned answers, but then rationalized assertions. When are you going to challenge to debate the Islamic dilemma? No, we're going to be debating the Islamic dilemma. Matter of fact, Thaddeus, trying to think of stuff that we haven't covered yet that would be good for a show. Maybe the Yakin Institute's video. You probably should get Jai and DOC on there with us because this guy covers a lot of Arabic and stuff. But it's a short video, so it shouldn't be too bad. Hi, I hear you saying apostasy rate soaring. Could this save the UK and the West or unrealistic thoughts? Hope new pope is dope.
No, UK is lost. Forget about UK.
Yeah, Tez, but you got some problems with that. So the apostasy rates, and it's cool, they're rising. So it went from, we heard a few years ago, 24%. The latest one that came out more recently says 26%. So it still seems like it's still going up every couple of years. So that's good. That's good. And that can help make things not as bad. But right now, in the meantime, you still have Western nations bringing in tons of, when you're talking about the apostasy rates and so on, you still have Western nations bringing in tons of very violent, very aggressive people who believe that they're at war with you. And so you're still going to get a lot of stuff, and they still have way higher birth rates than Westerners. And so you have a mixture of problems. The apostasy rates will help keep Islam from taking over the world. That does not mean they're going to kick in and dent the ummah enough to stop it from really screwing up entire countries and taking over cities and things like that. So, yeah, it's an ongoing issue, but I wouldn't put too much hope in that. I mean, again, it's for To keep Islam from taking over the world, I don't believe Islam's going to take over the world because, again, the apostasy rates are shooting up. I have to say, you don't know that that's not going to change. That could also change. Something could happen that apostasy rates drop or something like that. Like, keep in mind, part of the reason for the apostasy rates going up was the popularity of the new atheism. The new atheism is declining right now. So you don't know that, apostasy rates in Islam might start dropping again because the new atheism isn't such an influence. So anyway, all sorts of things can happen. But right now, they still have massively higher birth rates than non-Muslims. The apostasy rates do help offset that some. I don't think Islam's going to be taking over the world, but things are pretty far along in certain places. And so still looks like it's going to be bad no matter what happens. Looks like it's going to be a bad mess for England, for Germany, and for France.
Here is the thing. What is it right now? In the UK, I think the Muslim population percentage is around like 7-8% or something like that. 6, 7, 8, something like that. According to the regular moderate estimates, by 2050, it would rise to around 16%, I think, something along those lines, which would be a hugely significant number.
Yeah.
Nation. Some people suggest something like remigration. I'm sorry, excuse me, but remigration would be possible if you have a small population that you want to prevent from growing. How in the world are you going to remigrate 15%, 20% of the population?
Especially when by that time, most of them will be born there, right?
Yeah.
Because you bring in someone and who then has 8 kids, and they're all born in the UK, and you say, "Hey, let's remigrate this." Wait a minute, what are you doing? How are you going to make that work? They can. I think Great Britain has some law where if you're like this was the Shamima Begum thing, like because her parents were immigrants, that they can actually revoke you and say you don't belong here or something like that. So they can't. The point is, it's one, it would be extremely hard and difficult to do when you have that many people. 2, you need leaders who are willing to do that, and I haven't seen anything anything close to that in the UK for a long time. Let's see. Have you guys seen Rebecca's latest? She interviews a brilliant British former believer starring Ryan Gosling in the Islamist ideology. They're in a hotel. He's wrapped in an Israeli flag. Huh. No, I have not seen that. You familiar with that?
No.
The Al-Zut gang knows Nick Fuentes very well.
Probably.
Have you heard of DC Dawa? Yeah, not familiar with them. He's an Islamic apologist that has made a bunch of responses to your videos and apologetics in general. Really? Has he responded to the Islamic dilemma? If so, I might be interested in other stuff. Not so much
DC
right now.
Dawa, Marvel Dawa. I don't care, man.
Yeah, I'm the Marvel Dawa. No, I'm the DC Dawa. Mother's Day was originally a pagan holiday until it was Christianized by Constantine at the Council of Nicaea. True. Everything.
Very, very true. Thank you.
Jimmy Stewart, how to be a super nice guy and deal with enemies. In World War II, he was in the 453rd Bombardment Group and put bombs on the Nazis. Yeah, you could be nice and tough. AP, where did you buy your icon cross?
This one, I have no idea. My wife gave it to me. I have to ask her. If she's watching right now, that's a question for you. I don't know.
Did you guys hear about the research of Bermerman about the German YouTube channel Clownsfeld? Because he is not in line. He got kicked out of his band, but he got like 70,000 subs, now at 319,000. You think we pay attention to some weird German band YouTube channel? Come on. It's not a very important part of the world. AP, as the Eastern Orthodox Pope, dropped the anathemas on us Protestants. Yes, that's why we have the Protestant Eastern Orthodox Brotherhood Club, because we want to drop the anathemas against us.
I hereby drop all the anathemas, by the way, in the name of Eastern Orthodox. The Orthodox are going to take this seriously.
They're going to take this. Look what he's doing. He's already trying. First he tries to bring about the Antichrist, and then even after he openly supports the Antichrist, he does something even worse. He drops the anathemas against the Protestants. All right, we went through. Wow, that was a ton of super chats for that. We took a long time to get through all those. You ready to jump into the first homily of the new Pope?
Yes.
All right, so this is his first Mass as Pope and his first homily as Pope. We're going to see whether it's based or not based.
It is totally based.
I'll begin with a word in English, and the rest is in Italian.
Whoa, he's going to be talking in Italian? Where is he? Chicago?
The Vatican.
Oh, Vatican. He's in the Vatican. It says in the corner. Okay. Huh. They do. So you probably have to speak Italian as Pope, huh? Okay, back this up. Sorry to interrupt, Pope. You are the Pope. So this is going to be in Italian. We will probably... Hang on. Cameron had a bunch of text on his screen in his video. Cameron Bertuzzi, whose video? Oh, okay. So Cameron has the translation of the homily in his the Italian part of the homily in his video. Okay, we'll go ahead and watch this until he starts speaking Italian, and then we'll check out Cameron's video because Cameron has the text of what he said in Italian. Let's see here. Actually, this is ABC. I assume they're going to be translating something like that. Anyway, we'll see what happens.
I'll begin with a word in English, and the rest is in Italian. But I want to repeat the words from the responsorial psalm. I will sing a new song to the Lord because he has done marvels. And indeed, not just with me, but with all of us, my brother cardinals, as we celebrate this morning, I invite you to recognize the marvels that the Lord has done, the blessings that the Lord continues to pour out upon all of us.
So far, so good. But I'm not swayed in either direction.
Yep.
I would not say we should trust this man based on these opening words. Let's end this video now.
You called him based. See.
Okay. Let's see.
Through the ministry of Peter, you have called me to carry that cross and to be blessed with that mission. And I know I can rely on each and every one of you to walk with me as we continue as a church, as a community of friends of Jesus, as believers, to announce the good news, to announce the gospel.
He sounds like he has a subtle accent. I thought he's from Chicago. I know he spent time in South America. Listen to this. Let me back up a little.
I think he
says
spent
good news. Huh?
a lot of time in Peru and in South America. I don't know. It can really influence the way you speak. Yeah.
But I know he grew up in Chicago, so he spent enough time there where it actually gave him an accent. Listen to how he says stuff. Listen. Ready?
Church, as a community of friends of Jesus, as believers, to announce the good news, to announce...
Believers, to announce the good news.
Yeah.
That does not sound like a Chicago accent. Interesting. Yeah, so apparently he spent enough time in other countries like Peru to have it affect his accent. Interesting.
The gospel. To say, il Cristo, il figlio del Dio vivente. Con queste parole, Pietro, interrogato dal maestro,
you are the
assieme agli
Christ.
altri discepoli.
That's English speakers got a minute? We got 1 minute. English speakers got 1 minute. Hang on, let's see.
Son of the living God.
In
In these words, Peter asked by the Master, together with the other disciples, about his faith in him, expressed the patrimony that the Church, through the apostolic succession,
Okay, we can either watch the Pope and listen to the translation or just let Cameron Bertuzzi read the homily in English. So I'm going to switch to Cameron.
Yeah, the translation is the most annoying translation I've heard in my entire life. So.
Yeah, we'll let Cameron read it. Just keep in mind, Cameron is a Roman Catholic and therefore he is biased. And so Cameron is also someone who's under investigation whether he should be allowed to join us in our Protestant Eastern Orthodox Brotherhood Club. Let's see.
Pope Leo XIV's first homily as Pope was absolutely beautiful. This video is going to be very simple. We're just going to walk through his homily. I'm not going to provide as
Oh, and it's like, I just heard a Muslim say, "Oh, the Quran is really great. It's so awesome."
much commentary as I normally would, just because this was so beautiful. I want you guys to experience this. So the first part of his homily, if you weren't aware, is in English, and the rest is in Italian. So the first part I'm going to play for you guys in English, and then the rest I'm just going to read in English from Italian. So let's just go ahead and begin.
Why don't you just read it in Italian, Cameron?
I just love how Cameron is so in love with
Himself
his new font
and his hair.
Catholicism.
And look, he put a guitar in his background like Mike Winger. Dude, you can't copy Mike Winger, dude. That's wrong. You are
Bad move.
If you were trying to make us not trust this new pope, your background imitating Mike Winger is a huge red flag. Huge red flag, Cameron. But Cameron, one, you should be saying all this in an Italian accent. You should be saying, "And the new pope, I have a spaghetti and a meatballs, and I think about the new pope," something like that. Anyway, all right, let's let Cameron talk. Hey, this is a different camera angle.
I'll begin with a word in English, and the rest is in Italian. But I want to repeat the words from the responsorial psalm. I will sing a new song to the Lord because he has done marvels. And indeed, not just with me, but with all of us, my brother cardinals, as we celebrate this morning, I invite you to recognize the marvels that the Lord has done, the blessings that the Lord continues to pour out upon all of us.
Yeah, guys, I know we already heard this. We can hear this again. He only spoke it to us in English for 1 minute. So that's apparently how important English is.
We already heard this, man.
Yeah. Okay.
Through the ministry of Peter, you have called me to carry that cross and to be blessed with that mission. And I know I can rely on each and every one of you to walk with me as we continue as a church, as a community of friends of Jesus, as believers, to announce the good news, to announce the gospel.
Before we get to the Italian portion of his homily, I just wanted to highlight the humility that I'm seeing and experiencing and witnessing here from Pope.
You're getting a lot out of that 1 minute, Cameron. I'll just have to say. I was joking when I was like, oh, 1 minute.
Leo the 14th. He's saying
there's nothing there that should sway a person one way or another, Cameron. We have to hear more. So, and maybe it's in Italian. And then we have to wonder, is it even being translated correctly? Maybe things are being covered up.
He's got a cross.
I know that. So David is just, he's pretty much impressed by this and is thinking of becoming Catholic himself as we speak because of what he just saw. But what Cameron here is saying is exactly what I noticed and what many other people noticed as well, which is that that he has a very distinct way of speaking, very distinct mannerisms, very different from the other popes so far that we have seen recently. I don't really know. I don't know how he compares to John Paul II, but he has a very reserved, very shy-ish, very humble appearance and way of speaking, and it's a very likable thing about the guy who is the head of the church. So it's good stuff.
The papacy, being pope is not an easy thing. It is a cross, and he's openly acknowledging that, and it's beautiful. But let's go ahead and jump into the Italian portion of his homily. You are the Christ, the Son of the...
You're muted.
Why do you think that's so funny?
Sorry, continue.
As I was saying to myself, apparently, Italians, I'm talking like Italians, like people who are there and they speak Italian and don't speak English. So in other words, not like Cameron, like actual Italians from Italy who don't even speak English. They don't have much of a sense of humor, man. I think I told you this before, AP. So I was at my friend Paul's house. So this is Paul. Some of you guys remember Paul. Some of you guys remember Paul. He's the guy who got locked up with me and Nabil in Dearborn. He was with us. So he went to jail with us. So that's how tight we are. Anyway, after Dearborn, he went to graduate school in the UK, right? In the UK. So he went to get his master's degree in philosophy in the UK. There, he was friends with an Italian dude who, I don't know how they made it work because the dude didn't speak English. Somehow they made it work. Anyway, I think Paul spent time with the dude's family and visited the dude's family, but then he said, hey, come visit us in New York. I lived in the Bronx. Paul lived in Brooklyn. So anyway, this Italian dude brings his entire family because they want to see New York and stuff. They want to tour New York, and they're staying at Paul's family's house. And so I'm over there, and it's the dude who's another graduate student, and the dude's mom and dad and a couple siblings and so on. They're over at Paul's house. And Paul introduces me to this guy, right? And the guy comes over. He's got this big smile on his face, and he puts his hand out, and Paul says, yeah, this is so-and-so. And I go, hey, a bibbidi-bobbidi and a bobbidi-boobidi, eh? And this dude got really pissed off. he looked really, like his face went like this. And I'm like, come on, man. It's like, you got no sense of humor, man. Isn't that weird, though?
Yeah, it is.
People are weird, man. People are weird. Anyway, so this is Cameron Bertuzzi reading the homily in English because it's in Italian.
Acknowledging that, and it's beautiful. But let's go ahead and jump into the Italian portion of his homily. You are the Christ, the Son of the living God, Matthew 16:16. In these words, Peter, asked by the Master, together with the other disciples, about his faith in him, expressed the patrimony that the Church, through the apostolic succession, had preserved, deepened, and handed on for 2,000 years. Jesus is the Christ, the Son of the living God, the one Savior, who alone reveals the face of the Father. In him, God, in order to make himself close and accessible to men and women, revealed himself to us in the trusting eyes of a child, in the lively mind of a young person, and in the mature features of a man, finally appearing to his disciples after the resurrection with his glorious body. He thus showed us a model of human holiness that we can all imitate, together with the promise of an eternal destiny that transcends all our limits and abilities.
If anyone is tuning in late and doesn't know what we're doing right now, the Pope Leo XIV, also known as Pope Leo XIV, gave his first homily as Pope. The first minute was in English, then he switched to Italian, and Cameron is reading in English what was said in Italian. Everyone got that? All right, back to Cameron. Peter, in his response, understands both of these things, the gift of God and the path to follow in order to allow himself to be changed by that gift. They are two inseparable aspects of salvation entrusted to the Church to be proclaimed for the good of the human race. Indeed, they are entrusted to us, who were chosen by him before we were formed in our mother's wombs. See Jeremiah 1:5. Reborn in the waters of baptism and surpassing our limitations and with no merit of our own, brought here and sent forth from here, so that the gospel might be proclaimed to every creature. See Mark 16:15. In a particular way, God has called me by your election to succeed the Prince of the Apostles. Hang on, how does that work with the election? Do you know, AP?
What?
Like who the election, who votes on that? It's obviously is it just cardinals or cardinals and bishops or?
Cardinals, who also are bishops.
No, but I mean, is it bishops in general or just the cardinals?
Cardinals.
Just the cardinals? Do we know? Yeah. AP doesn't sound certain, and I have no clue. I know there's some sort of... And then, at some point, they apparently use some sort of smoke grenade or something like this, and then they don't know what the color is, and then it decides who's the Pope.
No, what they do is, so they come together. What they do is
joking about that. I know that's not the case before. No, that's not how it works, David. I know. Go ahead.
So when the conclave starts, what they do is all the cardinals. I think the cardinals have to be under a certain age. They have to be under the age of 18 or something like that. But all the cardinals can join the voting process. They go in there. They shut the doors completely when it starts to shut themselves completely off from the outside world, and have from then on, as soon as the door closes, they have no further communication with the outside world at all in order to prevent any kind of influence in the process. Then they start with the mass and with prayer, and so massive prayer routine, and sleeping and napping and discussing and voting, praying, discussing, voting, praying, discussing, voting, and so on. After every vote, they come together and see if there is a 2/3 majority that has voted for a certain person, then a pope is elected. If there is no 2/3 majority, then they say we don't have a pope and do a black smoke. So there has to be a 2/3 majority, I believe, with votes by cardinals. I think that's how it goes. Correct me, somebody, if I'm wrong.
So there you have it. Democracy in action. We just decide who the new pope is.
Powerful.
Beast.
And has entrusted this treasure to me so that with his help I may be its faithful administrator for the sake of the entire mystical body of the church. He has done so in order that she may be ever more fully a city set on a hill, an ark of salvation sailing through the waters of history, and a beacon that illuminates the dark nights of this world. And this, not so much through the magnificence of her structures or the grandeur of her buildings, like the monuments among which we find ourselves, but rather through the holiness of her members. For we are the people whom God has chosen as his own, so that we may declare the wonderful deeds of him who called us out of darkness into his marvelous light. Peter, however, makes his profession of faith in reply to a specific question. Who do people say that the Son of Man is? In Matthew 16:13. The question is not insignificant. It concerns an essential aspect of our ministry, namely, the world in which we live, with its limitations and its potential, its questions and its convictions. Who do people say that the Son of Man is? If we reflect on the scene we are considering, we might find two possible answers, which characterize two different attitudes. I love the clarifications he's giving here. First,
why is Cameron reading like this? Who do people say that the Son of Man is? If we reflect on this, just read it, man. We don't need the drama.
He's passionate about it, man. He loves it. He's loving it.
I guess
he's loving it.
I guess the passion can't be helped because he's Italian.
Yes.
First, there is the world's response. Matthew tells us what the conversation is.
First, there is the world's response. Matthew tells us that this conversation between Jesus and his disciples takes place in the beautiful town of Caesarea Philippi, filled with luxurious palaces, set in a magnificent natural landscape at the foot of Mount Hermon, but also a place of cruel power plays and the scene of betrayals and infidelity. This setting speaks to us of a world that considers Jesus a completely insignificant person. At best, someone with an unusual and striking way of speaking and acting. And so, once his presence becomes irksome because of his demands for honesty and his stern moral requirements, this world will not hesitate to reject and eliminate him. Then there is the other possible response to Jesus' question, that of ordinary people. For them, the Nazarene is not a charlatan, but an upright man, one who has courage, who speaks well and says the right things, like the other great prophets in the history of Israel. That is why they follow him, at least for as long as they can do so without too much risk or inconvenience. Yet to them he is only a man, and therefore, in times of danger, during his passion, they too abandon him and depart disappointed. What is striking about these two attitudes is their relevance today. They embody notions that we could easily find on the lips of many men and women in our own time, even if, while essentially identical, they are expressed in different languages. Even today, there are many settings in which the Christian faith is considered absurd, meant for the weak and unintelligent.
That's what AP used to say. He used to say, oh, only us atheists are smart and based, and then...
Settings where other securities are preferred, like technology, money, success, power, or pleasure. These are contexts where it is not easy to preach the gospel and bear witness to its truth, where believers are mocked, opposed, despised, or at best tolerated and pitied. Yet, precisely for this reason, they are the places where our missionary outreach is desperately needed. A lack of faith is often tragically accompanied by the loss of meaning in life, the neglect of mercy, appalling violations of human dignity, the crisis of the family, and so many other wounds that afflict our society. And these are not a few. Today, too, there are many settings in which Jesus, although appreciated as a man, is reduced to a kind of charismatic leader or Superman. This is not true, not only among non-believers, but also among many baptized Christians, who thus end up living at this level in a state of practical atheism.
This is true not only among non-believers, but also among many baptized Christians who thus end up living at this level in a state of practical atheism.
This is the world that has been entrusted to us, a world in which, as Pope Francis taught us so many times, we are called to bear.
He's quoting Pope Francis. As Pope Francis once said, if jihadis kill a bunch of cartoonists, what do you expect? It's like disrespecting someone's mother. Let's see. This is the world that has been entrusted to us, a world in which, as Pope Francis taught us so many times, we are called to bear witness to our joyful faith in Jesus the Savior.
To our joyful faith in Jesus the Savior. Therefore, it is essential that we, too, repeat with Peter, "You are Christ, the Son of the living God." It is essential to do this, first of all, in our personal relationship with the Lord, in our commitment to a daily journey of conversion. Then, to do so as a church, experiencing together our fidelity to the Lord and bringing the good news to all. I say this first of all to myself, as the successor of Peter, as I begin my mission of Bishop of Rome, and according to the well-known expression of St. Ignatius of Antioch, who he thinks is a real person, am called to preside in charity over the universe.
Was it a dig at who? At those who doubt him?
It was James White. Apparently, I didn't see the whole thing, but it sounded like James White at some point said, "We don't even know if Ignatius is a real person." I'm like, wait, what? It's just funny that Cameron just randomly tosses that in there while reading the Pope's first homily.
That was nicely done.
Very rude, Cameron. Very rude. You had a chance to be very ecumenical, and yet you cast aside all the Ignatius mythicists.
This is actually the funniest thing I've heard from Cameron so far.
Very, very mean, very rude.
Bishop of Rome, and according to the well-known expression of St. Ignatius of Antioch, who he thinks is a real person, am called to preside in charity over the universal church. St. Ignatius, who is led in chains to this city, the place of his impending sacrifice, wrote to the Christians there, "Then I will truly be a disciple of Jesus Christ when the world no longer sees my body." Ignatius was speaking about being devoured by wild beasts in the arena, and so it happened, but his words apply more generally to an indispensable commitment for all those in the church who exercise a ministry of authority. It is to move aside so that Christ may remain, to make oneself small so that he may be known and glorified, to spend oneself to the utmost so that all may have the opportunity to know and love him. May God grant me this grace today and always through the loving intercession of Mary, Mother of the Church.
Powerful.
What are you talking about? He had to marry the Mother of the Church there at the end. I know you Eastern Orthodox guys are going to be like, yes, this is super pace. Yes, he talked about it. Whereas all the Protestants are going to be like, show us that in the Bible. Show us that in the Bible. And you guys, you Eastern Orthodox and Catholics are going to be like, it doesn't have to come from the Bible. It could come from us. We could just make this up as we go along.
No, the response would rather be, it comes from the church, and the Bible also comes from the church. And then the Protestant side would be, well, how dare you say that? The church comes from the Bible. And the other side would say, well, where did you get the Bible from? When did you get it from? When did it get into your hands?
And then
From the church.
and then Protestants will say, so the church can say anything they want, right? And you guys would say yes.
No. Powerful. It's kind of funny, the whole discussion about the authority of the church. It's kind of, I think, some of the problems that the Orthodox Christians have with the Catholic Church, which they think that so Orthodoxy thinks that or holds that the Catholic Church basically exaggerated the role of the Pope and the role of the Roman Catholic Church, and raised the Pope to infallibility and to supremacy over all, and so on, and thereby exaggerated the role. So when the Protestants come and have objections to that, they have a point. But that said, the Church still has authority, and the Church is the one that provided the Bible, and so on. There's a whole
Which church?
conversation that
The
people
Eastern
can
Orthodox
have.
or the Roman Catholic? Which one?
The original Catholic Church, also known
The
as
original, so we don't even have it anymore.
Catholic Church. Well, it is still there. I mean, the Orthodox would say that it is the Orthodox Church, that which without any corruption continued from the first day to today, and that the Roman Catholic Church. See, now you make me explain it, and then people are going to start fighting about this.
Hang on. No, I'm serious. I'm seriously wondering, right? So Protestants come along later. But you have the Roman Catholic Church and the Eastern Orthodox Church, which at one point back in time were one church, right?
Yeah, it was just the universal church, the one united Catholic Church.
Okay.
And then,
but then you split, right? Then it splits. Okay.
Yeah.
Now here's the question. So if they both split, and they're both and they can actually both trace themselves back because they were at one point one thing. So if they're both claiming to be the one church or the correct church or something like that, how is it not like a trust me bro situation? Because it seems like you would need some independent authority to say which one is right. If this one's saying, hey, we're right, and this one's saying we're right, you need some independent authority to say which one is right. And so Protestants would say the Bible should be the authority on that, but the Bible should be the authority on all this stuff. But is it the Bible? Like I know, like the schism, you could technically, if you could figure out what the Bible is saying about that would kind of solve the issue or something like that. Or you could get to a point where you said, okay, we have a disagreement about this, but let's be one church again, and not let that be divided. But right now, as you have two kind of churches, both claiming to be the correct ones, is there a way to figure that out?
That's the funny thing. Right now, the Orthodox Church and the Catholic Church have been over for decades now, since the 1960s especially, very much trying to have dialogue and trying to find a way to end the schism and get together again. And of course, there are lots of people who are against this, but the current Patriarch of Constantinople and the Pope, Pope Francis, was very much in favor, and I believe that the new Pope would be in favor as well. They were very much on a path of trying to find a way to. They already lifted the anathema in the 1960s. So in the year when the schism happened, when the Great Schism happened in the 1050s, they both excommunicated each other mutually. In the 1960s, both sides mutually lifted the anathema and no longer officially excommunicate each other. So they are now in the process of no longer considering each other completely heretical. However, they still haven't restored full communion with each other. And if they're not fully in communion with each other, then they are still technically excommunicating each other. So they're trying to fix that situation, but they're also trying to find common ground without compromising each other's values. And the Orthodox side argues that the Roman Catholic side added too many new things since unity was last there, and that the Orthodox Church can simply not accept these things, such as the full supremacy of the Pope over the Church, the infallibility, the Immaculate Conception of Mary, and things like that, or the Filioque, most importantly, the Filioque. But the idea is generally the Orthodox Church does still recognize that the Roman Catholic Church is actually a valid holy see. They just consider the current Pope that is sitting there not completely valid within their view of what the Church should be, which is why they don't recognize it as a true church. But they could still refer to it as a sister church, for example, which is what Saint Mark of Ephesus, who is very, very much praised from the Council of Florence as somebody who preserved orthodoxy and who went against compromising and making unity with Rome. He, for example, referred to the Pope as Holy Father and referred to Rome as our sister church, despite viewing each other as heretical. So they still have a thing. Both sides still somehow have this hate and love thing with each other, but they can't agree on certain things. You talk about who is right. The Orthodox Church argues that just looking at the Bible, just looking at Matthew 16 and Matthew 18.
The Bible. So that's important. The Bible?
Yes, because in the Bible you will find Jesus speaking directly to Peter and the others, where he directly says that if you come together and agree on something, then it shall be. So the Orthodox Church says, we had 5 patriarchs in charge. If the 5 of us came together and agreed that this certain thing is correct, then we should normally be running with it. However, Rome in the 900s and 1000s went against this and elevated itself above the council and rejected the consensus, by which they excommunicated themselves and thereby left the body of the church, but we went the right way. And Rome rejected this, and Rome says, no, actually, the seat of Rome, which is the seat of Peter, according to the Bible, according to Jesus, actually is has superiority over all the others and is the final decision maker. So we shouldn't have to trust on the consensus, but rather on what Rome finally says. And this is where they then split. And for 1,000 years, we're still living with the consequences of that disagreement, which is a big shame.
So you heard it here, folks. You heard it here from AP himself, who's the Eastern Orthodox Pope. You got two big churches, and it's basically trust me, bro, versus trust me, bro. So they cancel each other out. Their trust me bros cancel each other out because we're supposed to trust this bro and then, trust this other bro, but then they're saying opposite things. So they cancel each other out. And so everyone should be Protestant by default until they figure something out. So, all right, you heard that here.
Powerful.
Let's take these couple super chats, and then we're going to hear from Pope Leo's brother, who grew up with him, and we'll be able to share all the dirt on everything. Little Robert, is it Robert? Yeah. Everything.
And then Protestants come in. And they say,
"Oh, what is this again?
Why you are supposed to only look at the Bible? What are you doing? What are you doing this stuff?" And then both the Orthodox and the Catholics turn around and say, "What are you talking about? Where in the world do you get this idea from that we can only look at the Bible and only go word for word directly by what the Bible says and be literalist about it?" And that's nowhere to be found. The first Christians, Peter, the apostles were not Bible only. Where do you get this from? And then they start fighting each other and they beat each other up and all. It's a bunch of fun. But you know what's funny about all of this? I'm sorry, but I have to say one thing, which is, and I don't want to impose here, but I also do. As an outsider who comes in to the gang, it's sad to see that there are so many people on either side who are like, "Oh, these people not real Christian, those people not real Christian, those people bad Christian, those people poor Christian, those people corrupt." Like, what's wrong with you people, man? There's so much more to unite upon, such as in the Bible is pointed out again and again, and as, if you want to go sola scriptura, right, as pointed out in the epistles, to be brothers and never to fall in disunity, right? To, despite your differences, despite your huge differences, to find unity once again in Christ and in the church, come together and talk it out and somehow find a way to walk together, instead of pointing at each other and saying, "Oh no, this guy is the devil, this guy is not real Christian," and so on. How about unity, man? Unity.
Did everyone catch that? AP was asked a simple question, like how do you break down the distinction between Roman Catholic and Eastern Orthodox, and what does he do? Whataboutism.
What about the Protestants? What about the Protestants? What about them?
And then look at what the Protestants are doing. You see this? You can't even talk to these guys.
You see?
You can't even talk to these orthobros, man.
Yeah.
But we will hear from the Al Zoot train gang. It's still funny that I keep seeing messages from guys in India.
That's right. That's what we did. We did do that to him. Those were my ancestors who did that.
Oh my gosh, weird thing to brag. Weird thing to brag about. Anyway. The only thing that can save the UK is the Al Zoot. We did it once and we will do it again.
What's wrong with you?
We're discussing the new Pope, and we're talking about people can't get away from that story, man. Weird stuff in the Muslim sources. I break with Christianity when I hear popes talking about peace and ceasefire. All I want to hear about is the streets flowing with the blood of the unbelievers, turning the other cheek when it comes to Islamists and Putinist tyrants. Easy to say love without condemning dictators.
That's true.
Yeah, that's true. You have the command, so love your neighbor, love your enemies, and things like that. But you also have the idea right there that governments are put in place for a reason. They are to protect people, protect people's rights, and so on. And guess what? Sometimes you have to deal with bad people in the world. And so that is entirely biblical, that people need to deal with bad people and make them stop certain things when they're doing them. D. Wood. Oh, so this is about my question about his accent. D. Wood, yes, enough time outside will affect English accent. I spent 15 years outside of Australia, and when I came back, I no longer had a bogan accent. Is that what they call it? A bogan accent? Have you heard of that?
That's a good... No, never heard of it. Never heard of it.
Yeah, so he left for 15 years, and he came back, and he spoke with just a normal accent, like a good American. He said, "Hey, everyone, how are things going here?" And they're like, "Let's toss another shrimp on the barbie. Foster's. Australian for beer." And then he came back and everyone was like, "Chat GPT!" And he's like, "I don't even know what you guys are saying anymore." Do you think Ghazwa al-Hind is peace be upon him's revenge to night spent with Al Zoot from India? Clearly.
That makes sense, actually. That's a good explanation.
Clearly, hell be upon him had his rear handed to him, and he was not happy. Well, he might have been happy. He was in pain, he says, but he may have been happy. We don't know. Al Zoot train gang. Muhammad enjoyed marbles. What? You don't know that. My Pope getting all the allegations. Jewish, Italian nose, dog eating, 1/4 Haitian, modernist, not racist, fast Chicagoan, nerd, has a girl boss mother. Yeah, don't believe any of the initial allegations, ladies and gentlemen. I for one, even though we're looking into the basics here, I for one will keep in mind he's a pope, so I'm not going to agree with him on some things. But it's okay. Are you going to be a pope who is actually serving the people well? And that would not mean during this time praising Islam. All right, so that's kind of where I draw the line. And that goes for anyone, politicians, various leaders. Even if you don't know anything about Islam, keep your mouth shut about Islam if you don't know anything about Islam. What ticks me off is all these people who know nothing about Islam praising Islam and saying it's great and all this stuff. What are you laughing at? What are you giggling at?
David sounding like Muhammad Hijab. Shut up! Shut up! Shut your mouth! Don't talk about Islam.
Are you this intellectually molested that you're going to praise Islam as the Pope?
Yosef Nazareth Fernandez Barturen has been asking for 2 hours now. Who is that? Who is the saint? Here, this here. This is Alexander Schmorell. This is a depiction of Alexander Schmorell. Here.
How'd you get that?
I ordered it on Etsy.
I'm just saying it's pretty. Yeah, we talk. Yeah, so guys, Alexander Schmorell. That's interesting that you can. I always thought those guys on your shelves and stuff. Those guys on like Eastern Orthodox shelves and stuff were like people from like 1,500 years ago and stuff like that. But Alexander Schmorell, everyone, he was with a group called the White Rose in Germany. They started printing out. There were a group of college students, philosophy students, and medical students, and they were Christians. And they started in like someone's basement. They had a printing machine, and they started printing leaflets calling for resistance against the rest of the Germans. And they were eventually caught. I think it was on the 6th or 7th leaflet or something like that. They started distributing it, and then they got caught, and they were put on trial, and they were executed. And so Alexander Schmorell was one of them. And yep, very, very based, very important book to read, guys. You can get a copy of the White Rose. I don't know how many. It's probably 150 pages or something like that. White Rose, it's written by Inga Scholl, who was the sister of Hans and Sophie, who were two of the members of the White Rose. And I mentioned to AP before, when they found out who was doing it, when they found out which students were publishing these leaflets calling for resistance, they all found out that they're all wanted and so on. Hans was like a world champion, survivalist, mountain climber, all that. They said Hans could have just run in any direction. They would have never in a million years caught Hans. That's how good he was in the mountains and stuff. But he stayed. And so that was cool of Hans. He stayed and stayed with his friends. His sister, Sophie, cool story about her. She's on her way to be executed. And someone handed her a piece of candy as she's walking to her execution. And she reacted and she said, oh, thank you. I haven't had anything to eat. And she ate the candy. She was cool. One of the others, I forget which one, but one of the others had just had a child. So he was actually married and just had a child. I forget if that was I think that was Christoph Probst. But
yeah, I think so.
Yeah, so they actually tried to cover, and they tried to diminish his, and they're just, oh no, he's just a dope who was kind of long, so let him live and stuff. But they executed him anyway. But they tried to cover for him, so that because he actually had a newborn baby and stuff. Anyway, they were a cool group of. We still need to do it. AP, the leaflets were not long, man. We need to do a show where we just go and read all their leaflets. Because
I actually have the thing here. I have the leaflets of the White Rose compiled into a little booklet here. Like very short. I have it right here in English.
You didn't need a booklet. You can literally pull up all the letters just by a.
I know, but I wanted
Google
to have it. I wanted to have it right here. I even have it in German here, like the German copied and the text put out here. It's pretty cool. It's pretty good stuff.
We should do a show going through those leaflets.
There's really good stuff here, and I think there's stuff that some of the people who are nowadays going around and saying, oh, Nazis were based, Hitler was based, and so on, while also pretending to be religious, that people like that should be hearing. There is one really, 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 really harsh thing where they start talking about what a horrible devil person Hitler is. In fact, if I find it right now, let me just read that immediately as we speak here. But continue, and then if I find it now, I will just read it, okay?
AP, any advice for newcomers to Orthodoxy? Also, David, any good ways to break the tribalism, us versus them mentality of my parents? They assume all Christians are the same, all bashful. Any thoughts? Well, I've kind of always been like that. So that has nothing to do with like my parents. So I don't know about like changing the views of parents and so on. I just always I always zero in on like what the biggest threat to something is. Like a bunch of, there could be a million things going on. I would just like, oh, actually, that thing way over there, that is the biggest threat to what's going on, and you guys need to be paying attention to that over there. And then I would kind of zero in on like two or three. What are the 2 or 3 biggest threats? And I just constantly focus on those things. And so I just don't pay attention to everything else that's going on and so on. So I don't know how to like tell other people to be like that. I'm not necessarily, I mean, I'd want to tell other people like, hey, focus on the big threats and stuff like that. But yeah, I don't know about changing things. Views.
As for advice, go to your church, speak to your priest, listen to whatever your spiritual father says, or listen to whoever he tells you to listen to. Don't go online and don't get your opinions from online Orthodox people. It's currently a very, very hot topic. You don't want to do that. You want to listen. You want to go the actual Orthodox way and listen to your priest, which is the Orthodox way. You shouldn't go and listen to other people, which is a mistake that many people seem to do, and it leads to really disastrous things, such as creating an online community that becomes very, very toxic and weird.
And did you notice, everyone, not one word in all of AP's advice was read the Bible. You see that? It's all, just go and listen to your priest, just whatever your priest says. Yeah. And if he tells you anything, even if it contradicts the Bible, you won't know, because at no point are you supposed to learn the Bible, because that's what Protestants do.
Because your priest will tell you to read, to study this Bible, and
yes, this particular Bible, the one that we just wrote.
So here's the part. This is very, very, very brutal. So this is from the leaflets of the White Rose, number 4. It says, "Who has counted the dead, Hitler or Goebbels? Probably neither. Thousands fall every day in Russia." This is when not the Nazis are at war with Russia. "It is the time of harvest, and the reaper approaches the standing crops with all his energy. Morning returns to the cottages of the homeland, and no one is there to dry the tears of the mothers. But Hitler deceives the ones whose most precious possession he has stolen and driven to a senseless death. Every word that proceeds from Hitler's mouth is a lie. When he says peace, he means war. When he names the name of the Almighty in a most blasphemous manner, he means the Almighty Evil One, the fallen angel Satan. His mouth is the stinking maw of hell, and his might is fundamentally reprobate. To be sure, one must wage the battle against National Socialism using rational means, but whoever still does not believe in the actual existence of demonic powers has not comprehended by far the metaphysical background of this war. Behind the tangible, behind that which can be perceived by the senses, behind all factual, logical consideration stands the irrational. That is the battle against the demon, against the messengers of the Antichrist. Everywhere and at all times the demons have waited in darkness for the hour in which mankind is weak, in which he voluntarily abandons the position in the world order that is based on freedom and comes from God, in which he yields to the forces of the evil one, disengaging himself from the powers of a higher order. Once he has taken the first step of his own free will, he is driven to take the second and then the third, and even more, with furiously increasing speed. Everywhere and at every time of greatest danger, people have risen up, prophets, saints, who are aware of their freedom, who have pointed to the one God, and with his aid have exhorted the people to turn in repentance. Mankind is surely free, but he is defenseless against the evil one without the true God. He is like a ship without a rudder that is given over to the storm, like a nursing child with a mother, like a cloud that dissolves. So it continues like this, but these guys had some powerful rhetoric and like really important stuff to say to the Christians, to the population that were being used and massacred and oppressed by the Nazi evil. I think this portion was written by Alexander Schmorell, so this is some really, really powerful stuff.
And they were executed. It's pretty. And I remember. So I read that in college. That was required for, I forget, like intermediate German or something like that, where we actually started reading a book instead of just like small excerpts and so on. But we had to actually read the White Rose in German, and I just remember learning about them, seeing what they did, and I'm thinking, these are like these are like the smartest, best young people that you had. People who are willing to stand against the Nazi regime and so on, and actually call them out. And how do you react? You execute them. You are executing the best people among you, the people who don't mindlessly go along with every other insane thing you're going with. But you got, always watch out for that, ladies and gentlemen. One telltale sign of a dangerous, dangerous regime is that they will start getting rid of the best people among them, because the best people among them are the people who would be willing to stand up and endanger their own lives and so on. And would be smart and able to convince others to join them and so on. I think it was actually like, because this was like over 20 years ago when I read the White Rose. I think it was like a janitor at like a school or something at the university saw them like on the stairwell or something like that with their new leaflets. And I forget, something like that. Yep. Someone saw them and then turned them in and stuff. And then rough stuff.
They thought they were just getting away. They were distributing. They ran out of the means to distribute their final batch. They were distributing it in person directly, trying to get away, and then they were seen and captured. It was Sophie and her brother. There is a movie about this actually, which is in German. Sophie Scholl, The Final Days.
I think they've made a couple movies out of it over the years.
For those who will have to fulfill their obligations of learning German, it will be a very good choice to watch that movie. Mm-hmm. It's awesome.
Yeah. And yep, Germans are weird, man. Germans are weird. I still, to this day, every couple of years, I'll actually look around to see if anyone is selling one of the original leaflets. You can get copies. That's no problem. You get 1 million copies and stuff like that. But as far as like an authentic one, an actual leaflet of the White Rose, I've been looking for years because I would want one of those. I would max out my credit card to get one of those and have it hanging on my wall because that's it's pretty based. Imagine if you actually had one of those. That's something they were like printing on their little printer and stuff like this back then. It'd be pretty cool. I'm guessing they're in like museums and stuff, but there's got to be some copies laying around somewhere. So if anyone ever sees, hey, they're auctioning off one of these, let me know, because D Wood is about to max out a credit card. Ashley D says, would love to hear it in your own words. What's the difference between Eastern Orthodox and Catholic? I have no idea. Well, AP already broke it down quite a bit, so I don't know if you posted this comment before AP went into a lot of detail, but basically, based on AP's words, it's this side says we're the true church, trust me, bro, and the other side says we're the true church, trust me, bro. And so that's the main difference.
Exactly.
Is that correct?
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah. No, it was the same church for 1,000 years, and then they split over. We shouldn't be adopting this thing called the filioque, where it says the Holy Spirit proceeds from the Father and the Son, and then certain other matters such as that Rome has superiority over the others and so on. And Rome said, actually, we are the final authority here, and the others said, no, you're not. We're supposed to make a decision together on this, and this clearly goes against the doctrines. And then the Rome said, well, if you don't accept this, then we excommunicate you. And the other said, if you don't accept this, then we excommunicate you. So and then they split, basically. But right now, it's of course more than that. It's like the two sides have kind of a different way. Even long before that, they had a different way of approaching church stuff. With Augustine being very different from how the Eastern Church Fathers were and all that. So the West, the Catholicism has more of a structured, rational attitude, whereas the East has a more of a mystical attitude when it comes to matters of theology, for example. It's all quite different if you want to get down to the very details. Would recommend just sitting down and studying it.
Leo Zagami has an interesting article on Leo the 14th. Yeah, I have no idea who Leo Zagami is. He's got some weird stuff on here. But yes, he's got Illuminati stuff on here. Yeah, I wouldn't trust this. He's got an article on let's see, so Pope Leo protecting pedophiles and so on. So, but yeah, if that's the case, I'd be interested, but not from a weird site that's everything's got weird symbols and seeing eye and Illuminati stuff. So that normally wouldn't be a place where I'd get my information. Surely this Pope will do us no wrong. His manners are open, his speech genteel, but maybe his goal was just riding along in the fabulous Pope Mobile. The Pope Mobile is the best mobile. A group of bishops chose the new Pope, but Muhammad chose a group of men. Draw your own conclusions.
That's true.
Different methodologies. You've heard it here first, folks. Become Lutheran. You have it. See?
Powerful.
That's what AP. That's the takeaway from AP. When the day comes that the two churches reunite into Orthodox Catholic Church, do you think there will be a Protestant avalanche of apostasy? No, the Protestants will become more powerful and base than ever.
Yeah, I mean, the Protestants will that they realize, okay, we were wrong all along, so they will collectively convert to the true church, and then finally Christians will come together. So that is what's bound to happen. But we just when,
Words that Glasgow Razor Gang should have heard. Oh, I don't know which words you're referring to here because this was earlier.
I agree.
They give each other Glasgow smileys. Stop your yapping, Mubahala lasers. I want them now. That is a good point. People can solve all these differences with a good Mubahala, and they don't.
Stop your yapping.
Sola Scriptura doesn't mean we throw away church tradition. You're attacking.
That's exactly what it means.
It's exactly what it means. A straw man, AP. Why are you lying about Protestants? John Calvin said he was more Catholic than Rome, more Catholic than you, even since they wanted to recover the early church fathers. You say that in your face.
More Catholic than you.
Everyone become Calvinist, the true Catholic Church.
Powerful.
A bogan is the Aussie version of a redneck. Oh, okay, that makes sense then. Good, that's good. Am I pronouncing it right? Bogan, a bogan, like Joe Rogan. Bogan. The people who knew Jesus or his disciples are dead. Nobody with special knowledge is left in the church. Now the Bible is the best knowledge we have. The church has no authority. Sola Scriptura. No. Trust me, bro, is the highest authority. If Momo was about today, what do you think his favorite takeaway would be? Indian or Five Guys? Wrong. Sola Scriptura means sola scriptura, scripture alone. Catholics and otherwise like to add things that are unnecessary when God was clear in his word. If you doubt his word and dance around his clear word, you are just as bad as the Dawa.
Look at this. Look at this. Look at this fighting.
No wonder we're
Stop
AP
fighting.
No wonder AP's wearing disguises now. Protestants watching the show with popcorn while side-eyeing the Mormons. Pro bro here. We got the Ortho bros and the pro bros here. The pro bro here. Love and appreciate all of you. How dare you? Pick a side and fight for it now. No, the Holy Spirit guides you through the scripture.
Yeah, powerful.
But in their defense, Giovanni, if the Holy Spirit can guide people through scripture, couldn't the Holy Spirit also guide the church?
Considering especially that Jesus himself directly spoke to them and told them that the church is founded upon them and that they have the authority to bind and to loose and to forgive and not forgive.
And it says right there, and it says, and yes, choose the Pope and do whatever he says.
And to lead the church, and the Holy Spirit will guide them, and so on. When did that stop? Did it stop when the contemporaries and the apostles died? If so, where do we get the idea that it stopped then? And why did Paul himself directly appoint people and call himself the father of them, and so on? Big questions.
0 questions. Mo beheaded all the males with pubic hair in a Jewish tribe, including 11 to 12-year-olds, and enslaved the rest. I feel like this should be talked about more. Oh, we talked about that like 1 trillion times. Yep, that was the last of the 3 Jewish tribes that Muhammad interacted with. So Muhammad moves to Medina around 622 A.D. 8 years later, there are no more Jewish tribes. 3 Jewish tribes are there. You're wrong. The Holy Spirit guides you through Scripture. Right, I said that already. I had a debate with Muslim Lantern, really, about Muhammad's sex life, and all he could do was dodge the questions or just lie to me. Dodging questions and lying. That sounds like Muslim Lantern, yeah.
Yeah. I think one of the reasons that I really like the new pope is that that the new pope was elected and announced on the same day that Europa Universalis 5 was announced, which of course is a very big issue.
Sounds like a video
and also
game.
Says a lot about the legitimacy of the pope. So
yeah, like what are the odds?
Yeah, exactly.
Let's see. American Pope. Cry, silly Europeans. Yeah, that's the real reason you have this big dispute. All the Europeans are crying. Like, oh, first you get Donald Trump, then you get a Pope. You guys are trying to take over the universe. Eastern Orthodox split because they lost the Mubahala, bro. Ooh, maybe. What if that's the real reason? They decided, hey, we're having this disagreement. Let's have a Mubahala.
You see.
Yes, and now, this Abraham. Yes, and now I have a U.S. accent, and I cringe at the sound of my own voice. I've also been excommunicated from Australian society.
You deserve that.
Yeah, that sort of thing happens. It's like if you listen to Mel Gibson now, I mean, he's like Australian, but he sounds completely American, even if he's just like in an interview.
Powerful.
Now, just please, I'm begging you, Abraham, I will never ask you for anything ever again. Just please, 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 please get Lily J to go to America, Great Britain, anywhere for like 10 or 15 years and train her like Audrey Hepburn in that movie where they had to train her out of her stupid accent. Please do that with Lily J. Someone's got to do it. It's like it makes my ears bleed to hear her. Can we not do this? It hasn't even been a week. Can we not do what? Watch some videos on the new Pope? 5 men are less than 5 booty warriors. I think the people of Al Zut were called booty bandits. Please read The Reformation as Renewal by Martin Barrett for an understanding of the historic Reformation and their understanding of sola scriptura and Catholicity. Hey, it would be cool to name a city Catholicity. I just wanted to point that out. I'm not Catholic, so I don't have that kind of authority and so on, but someone should do that.
To name your child sola scriptura.
That'd be cool. The Pope is just a chain of narration. Hail Ezra. Sheikh Ruslan says you're wrong. To be honest, Joseph Smith never met with the Al Zut. That's true. Obedience to the Pope is not an option. It is a requirement.
Powerful.
And we have Lily J is our national shame. She's bogan. Oh, really? Is that the accent? Hey, seriously. Is that the accent? Is that what you mean by a bogan accent? That idiotic sounding accent? That's like, because like you got, I mean, even some of the, even kind of like the, you know, like the crocodile Dundee accent and stuff. It sounds cool to us. It sounds cool. Like you have the British accent, and you like the Dawkins version, the Douglas Murray version of the British accent sounds intelligent. You could be saying anything; it makes you sound smarter. It makes what you're saying sound more trustworthy, even if you're spouting complete nonsense. But then you have like the Cockney accent, and that makes you sound like an idiot, even if you're saying something completely right. But then in Australia, you know, you've got just regular Australians you're talking with. Then you've got some that's, you know, sound like Crocodile Dundee and stuff. They still sound cool. And then whatever Lily J is, it's just like it's the worst sound in the world, like the worst possible accent. It's really, really weird.
ChatGPT, what is better? ChatGPT is Islam or Christianity?
And do they do that? Is that what people, these bogans do? They're like, ChatGPT. Like, do they they react like that? And you're like, hey, let's
what
hey.
bothers me the most is the eye, pronunciation of the I. It's like Islam. Like where did they get that from?
Yeah. And then she'll pronounce all these words that are one syllable and draw them out to turn them into 2-syllable words. And then I see in the chat, it's like, how many syllables are in that word? Anyway, it's weird stuff. And finally, Catholics have fallen in love with humans and disregarded Christ. Ooh, you heard it here from Giovanni, who's trying to start a war. We're here. We're here building bridges. Giovanni.
That's a weird accusation, man. I never understand this. Like you could hear the same thing from the other side, who will say, "Oh, those other people, the Protestants, they have disconnected themselves completely from the church. They don't listen to Christ. They don't care about them because they only care about themselves." Listen, like you can listen to both sides, make the same accusation about the other side, and I'm sure to your own side, you might sound completely justified. It might sound completely justified for you to say that the other side, of course, you are not doing it, but the other side is, of course, abandoning Christ and, engaging in human worship or worshiping themselves and so on. It's a very, very easy thing to say in your own position, right? It's a very easy thing to say from your own position, but it's also very self-absorbed and very, 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 what do you call it? Self-righteous. It's nonsense. Go and interact with Catholics. Go and interact with Catholic priests. Listen to Catholic bishops. Do you really think that these guys are just a bunch of I don't know, materialist people who are engaged in some great conspiracy and who don't care about Christ? These people are extremely devout. They are in love with the faith. They are in love with Christ. People accuse those who pray the rosary or those who remember Mary and ask for Mother Mary's intercession of worshiping and of distraction. People have tears in their eyes, praying and doing the rosary, praying to Jesus all day and all night, genuinely thinking or praying and crying for all humanity and all of that. And this is not just limited to Catholics. Before I leave that point, the Pope himself is most likely, there is no reason to believe that the Pope is some guy who is in some dirty agenda. The guy is most likely an elevated, on an even more elevated form of this, and very, very passionate about humanity and about faith in Christ and his mission to lead the flock and all that. But then it's not just the Catholics. Turn the other way. Look at the Protestants. I've interacted with both sides. I know that that Protestants. I know that people who are in the church. I know that that lots of you are extremely passionate, extremely devout, care a lot about the homeless guy on the road, or those people who don't believe, and you pray day and night and you cry for others as well. You also have the same devotion, the same love for Christ, the same love for humanity, the same love for God. And all of that. I don't understand why instead of focusing on your own salvation and focusing on, your love for God and focusing on the brotherhood and the togetherness, you instead want to engage in accusing others, foremost accusing other Christians of bad stuff. What is it going to do to you? What is it going to do for you? How is it going to help those people? Don't you want to help those people? How is it going to help you foremost? We know it's not going to help anybody. We know it's not going to help those other people. We know it's not going to fix them if you think they have a problem. How is it going to help you? It's not going to help you either. It's just going to make you bitter, hateful, and dark inside. Just focus on the good stuff.
Yeah. The world doesn't work like that, AP. I don't know what sort of fantasy land you live in, but here in the real world, when we see you guys and all your popery, trying to impose all your popery on the rest of us,
yeah,
we're like,
that's the trick.
We're like, popery. How about nopery?
Oh, that's the trick. I mean, this whole charade that I just pulled was just for that.
Hey, wouldn't that be a cool saying? Everyone can feel free to steal my saying. Popery? How about nopery? It's like the dumbest thing ever. but extremely based somehow.
You see?
Hang on, check this out. Why does it keep doing that, man? I'm trying to scroll up because I was looking for this comment, and then every time something happens, it keeps. Hey, Ecamm, fix your crap, man. Ecamm is it didn't used to do this, but now, because you can like scroll through comments and let it sit on one, and then click on it when you want. Now it's it keeps adjusting as people are sending comments. Hey, check this out. Now, the Berean Jews, this is from Acts 17. Acts 17. Someone should make a ministry out of that. Now, the Berean Jews were of more noble character than those in Thessalonica, for they received the message with great eagerness and examined the scriptures every day to see if what Paul said was true. You see that? Unlike all the Eastern Orthodox and Catholic popes out there, these guys actually go to the Bible.
You see? That's the funny thing. I don't understand what people think sometimes when they do these things. Like,
well, if you think if you're actually upset because someone quoted the Bible to you, pointing people to the Bible, shame on them. Hang on, here we go. So we already saw Giovanni here. Catholics have fallen in love with humans and disregarded Christ. Then we have Abraham focusing on something way more important. So Crocodile Dundee is a cool Bogan accent. Different versions of Bogan. Lily J is a dumb Bogan. Sydney Siders attempt New York accents and comes out dumb. So there's a smart Bogan there's a cool Bogan accent. Notice he said cool Bogan accent, not smart Bogan accent. Because yes, Crocodile Dundee does not sound smart. He sounds cool though. Lily J sounds like a complete idiot. So yes, there is a dumb Bogan accent. But this is actually good to know. That explains some things. About these accents. So there's a cool, and I'm guessing it would be similar with you can have a country accent where a guy sounds pretty cool, and you can have a country accent where a guy sounds like an idiot and stuff. So I'm guessing it's just pretty similar. So people are the same everywhere, man. Small world. And here you go, Giovanni, in your face, AP. They literally had the bodies of dead humans and pray to them. No response from AP on that one. You burnt. Show me that one in the Bible. AP with that mustache, you look like a bored 70s star on crack. On crack? Really?
Oh yeah. Yeah. That's true. That's an accurate description. Yeah.
And let's see. What Quran verse or hadith do you find that story with Muhammad and the men of Al-Zut? Google can't find it. Go to my video on this DPS player, and I linked to it. I got it there. There are multiple sources. There are multiple sources on this. Most of them had not been translated into English, so it's only when you hear an Arabic speaker, usually an Arabic-speaking Christian, lots of times an Arabic-speaking ex-Muslim, who will be using this story. But there is one that is available from Musnad Ahmed, but I've got the link there in my video, so check that out. I mean, in the comment section of the video. And then we have, we need Nopery merch scented like potpourri. Potpourri? How about Nopery with my Nopery scented potpourri? Paul anathematized preaching another gospel. Didn't even think about that one, AP, did you?
See? How are you going to explain that?
And is Jamie Oliver's cooking considered a sin? I don't know. Who's Jamie Oliver?
Probably.
All right, AP. We got one more video. We've got the new Pope's brother, the person who knows him best, here to tell us all the dirt about when they were growing up and all the messed up stuff.
Oh boy.
Here it goes, ladies and gentlemen. Chris Cuomo's new show has turned into the Jerry Springer Show, bringing out all the dirt about Pope Leo XIV, Pope Leo XIV. And here we got it.
Imagine this being your life. Hey, did you hear? No, what? Oh, your brother's Pope. Can you imagine?
You know what that's like. Imagine this. Hey, guess what? What? Your brother's governor. What? Let me cover up all the messed up stuff he's doing.
that would mean to you, what that would mean to your family. The Pope's older brother, Louis Prevost, joins me right.
Prevost. He said Prevost.
Hey, you know what's funny?
And he knows because he's Catholic. What? Sorry.
I normally don't want to say anything about this, but I'm sitting here and I'm looking at my other screen, which is suggesting to me stuff that is going on right now, or stuff to watch. And I see that two other Christians who have been complaining endlessly now about my support for the existence of Jews.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
How dare you say that Jews should exist and be able to defend themselves against all the people who want to exterminate them, you racist? You're bringing about the Antichrist.
Are literally sitting together in a studio, crammed together on the Whatever podcast with OnlyFans prostitutes.
What, with all the booby chicks? Why are you telling people that? You got to tell people that at the end. So, okay, so these are, let me get this straight. We're not going to name any names here. But the people who are united by nothing except their hatred of you for saying that Jews should be allowed to have a place where they can exist, those guys are sitting around with boobies in their face, and encourage. Wait, so hang on. The guys whose main concern,
if you say that Jews should live, then you're basically saying that Jews should bring about the Antichrist.
Those guys are acting as the bridge between Christians and OnlyFans and saying, look, everyone, we want you to come watch us, but well, you come for us, but then you stay for all the boobies, and then you follow all these chicks on their OnlyFans page, and then we could get the entire church watching OnlyFans and checking out boobies all day, and maybe even deciding, it would be good if we also got girls into OnlyFans because we can make money. Let's take Andrew Tate's course and let's make Andrew Tate the new Antichrist and we'll all worship him. That's what you're saying?
And this is what these guys are doing. Like, this is supposedly, they're like, oh no, you're not being good, you're not being Christian enough, you need to learn about Christianity, you're not being Christian by defending the right of Jews to live. We are proper Christians, we represent Christianity properly, you should listen to us instead. Anyway, now we're heading off to sit on a podcast and talk to a bunch of girls who do porn online with boobs in our faces. Fantastic.
So you heard it here, folks. Jews, according to certain people, should not be allowed to exist and defend themselves. But OnlyFans girls need to be propped up and celebrated for what they do, and the entire church's attention needs to be drawn to boobies. Boobies. Everything needs to be about boobies.
I was talking about Gay Liar, of course. That's what I was talking about.
Yeah. This is like, it's like we'll sit here and argue with Mohammed Hijab, and then you get all the secret second hotel wives and stuff like that coming out.
Powerful.
AP, stop defending the Jews' right to exist and get on OnlyFans with us and check out these boobies.
Why can't you be more like Gay Dyer and sit with OnlyFans models?
Yes, isn't it more fun? It's so hard defending Jews when so many people want to exterminate them. Just join all the people who want to exterminate them and join us, and we'll all sit around looking at boobs.
Powerful.
Wow.
Now, this is exactly what the Bible says. The Bible tells us all to go and sit down and have a show with the OnlyFans models.
Yeah, the Apostle Paul said, "It is my greatest hope that Jews will never be allowed to defend themselves against people who want to exterminate them, and that one day we will all be united around boobs, staring at boobs." That's Romans chapter 45. Trust me, bro.
Also, blessed are those who sit together with OnlyFans models with their boobs out.
Yep. It's in that was part of the book of the Council of Nicaea that was removed, but
To meet you, sir.
So this is the new Pope's brother that he grew up with.
Well, it's nice to meet you too, Chris. Thank you. Happy to be here.
Take me through it. Take me through it, brother. As somebody who has a brother who had grand ambitions, how did you learn that your brother had become the most holy position in our religion?
Hold up. How come this dude's still dressed like a normal guy? Shouldn't he get, I understand you're not going to dress like the Pope, but shouldn't you get something, man, for being the Pope's brother? I don't know. Seems like you should have something. AP's just a cat human, and he has already got his cool little getup. They completely changed his look. This guy just looks like himself.
See?
Well, it was like everybody else. We knew when he became a cardinal back in 23 that, okay, he's eligible now to be the Pope.
This guy's only been a cardinal for 2 years? He's a cardinal for 2 years, and they already give him a promotion to Pope? That's weird.
There's the chance he could be elevated to become Pope. Oh, my God, my brother. But, your common sense, your reality tells you, well, he's American. He's not very old. The last Pope, Francis, was from South America. He spent a lot of time in South America. Odds are they're not going to go this way, but the chance is there.
So he's thinking, this guy's American. They don't like American. They're not going to have an American Pope. What was he not counting on? Hey, Vatican, it's me. You want to make some deals? You want me to end some tariffs with China? Then let's get an American Pope in there. That'll make me very happy. He'll make some good deals. You want a good deal? Wasn't counting on that, was he?
So when he went into the conclave on Wednesday morning, we just had, watching the TV with where they were showing the Sistine Chapel and the cardinals going in. And we waited, just watching for the smoke. And Wednesday we saw black smoke. I thought, okay, they haven't picked one yet. Thursday morning, I guess they had 2 votes, both times black smoke. And we well, if it doesn't happen soon, he's probably not going to get elected, because if it happens quick, they've eliminated. I'm gonna call it politics out of the session, and they're going for what, in my mind, is one of the best candidates. Thursday afternoon, or just before afternoon, there was white smoke. I didn't see it. My wife was monitoring it at her work. She called me and said, white smoke, white smoke, white smoke. So, of course, you get excited. I got up, turned the TV on real fast, watched the TV,
Hold up. I just got to point out, all you people who criticize the mega churches for having smoke and light shows and stuff like that. Where'd they get that idea from? What's next? Lasers to identify? Come on. What do you like? Hey, does anyone know how far back this goes? Is this something that they came up with a couple centuries ago, or is this something that's always been a thing?
It's probably not very old.
Okay, so
I think the whole conclave thing is only a few centuries old, as far as I understand, as far as I remember.
And then it became a waiting game. I thought, okay, there's white smoke. How long can it be before they announce who's the new pope? And I'm waiting, getting upset. You're on pins and needles, anxious. The back of my mind said, it could be Rob. He could have been elected. This was a quick vote. And after I don't know how long, it seemed like a really long time before they came out and announced the new pope. To me, it was 5 or 6 hours. It was probably 20 minutes maybe. I don't know. It just seemed like, will you get out here and tell us who won? Who did you elect? And the cardinal came out and he said, we have a new pope. And then he started to say the name. And I was on the edge of my seat, who's it going to be? And he went, new pope is named. And he went, Ro. And as soon as he said Ro, I knew, it's Rob. And I went nuts. And he finished with Roberto Francisco Prevost. And that
Prevost.
sealed it.
We got it from the brother. We got it from the brother right here. Prevost. Not Prevost or Prevot. AP.
Prevot.
With your terrible research. Prevost.
I about passed out. The excitement was, how do you said it when you opened. Can you imagine waking up and your baby brother is the Pope? Which is pretty much what I did, because, to be honest, I don't know if you can hear it in my throat, and I'm not 100% well. Yesterday I took the day off of work because I really wanted to sleep, rest in. I felt really bad yesterday. So I was in bed. People made comments. What are you doing in bed?
What? Here, what is?
Cardinals voting for the Pope was established in 1059. The conclave system was established in 1274. And the black smoke, white smoke system was established in the 1900s only.
The 1900s? Come on, guys.
Yeah.
You guys are just inventing things left and right.
You sound like a Muslim.
Let's just make up anything we want.
This is bid'ah. This is bid'ah. It's haram.
At 12 o'clock. Well, I didn't feel well. Well, when the news came in, I was up in a shot, and
I bet.
You know, when they said the name, I was like, thank God I'm sitting down in bed because I would have fallen over.
How?
But
Lewis, how did you
I
have an expectation that it could be him? That's the part that I find fascinating. There are a lot of Cardinals, and it wasn't like everyone they were betting on him like the Kentucky Derby. And what is it that you know about your brother that we have to know about why you're so confident that this was the right guy?
Yeah, this is what I'm interested in. Tell us what you think about your brother. You've known him all your life. Let us know what's up. That's the part. I'm not interested terribly in how everyone's reacting to things. Although, I mean, it is kind of interesting because it would have been similar like the brothers of Jesus. Like, wait a minute, our brother is saying he's the Messiah? Would have been like, you grow up around someone, you think, hey, this guy's actually pretty special. Whoa, but you're that's who you are? That's, interesting. So would be pretty surprising. But here, want to hear all the dirt about this guy. I actually saw a couple seconds of this part.
Two things. When we were there in Rome, when he was elevated to cardinal, some of the talk around the Vatican was he's probably got a 1 in 3 chance of being Pope, the next Pope.
Wow.
When you hear that,
1 in 3,
you immediately think, wow, yes, wow is right. And then when Pope Francis passed away and you guys started, here's a list of possible candidates, probable people, whatever. Some lists he was on, some he wasn't, but
some he wasn't.
I started reading through their resumes, their little biographies that were posted with each cardinal. And as I went through them, I said, none of these guys have the experience that Rob has.
Hold up. Why is Black Angel...
And I said it with no bias.
Yeah, and why is Black Angel sharing a video that we're literally watching right now? Black Angel's like, hey, everyone, go check out this video. We're literally watching it, Black Angel. In fact, we're watching it because you sent it to me.
He was a missionary in Peru, spent a lot of time there.
Missionary in Peru.
He worked with the Peruvian government. He went to Rome as the head of the Augustinian order. As the head of the Augustinian order, he
definitely got a cool hat.
Traveled all around the world. Everywhere there's an Augustinian establishment, he went. So he was in all these foreign countries all over the world. China, Korea, Africa.
But what about him personally, Lewis?
Europe.
Beyond the resume, what do you know?
Actually liking Chris Cuomo right now. We want to hear about what the dude is like, not get his CV from someone. In other words, the CV, the things he's done, you can get anywhere. You could get those on Wikipedia. Why is his brother here? Because you actually know stuff about him that we're not finding on Wikipedia. So tell us that stuff. Good job, Chris.
About him as a man, as a person, that makes you believe he is special.
He is special. We knew when he was...
He's my brother. Anyone who would be my brother must be a great man because I'm so great.
5 or 6 years old, he was something special.
Huh.
We knew when he was that young, he was going to go into the priesthood. You just knew it. We had neighbors and school teachers that said, someday you're going to be Pope. Where do people get that out of nowhere? And here we are, he's Pope. And when it happened, I went, my God, all those people, what did they see? What did we see even that said we knew he was going to be a priest, let alone a Pope? And we used to tease him.
Black Angel said that the reason she's sharing the link is so that peeps can check out the original without your interruptions later. Duh. Oh. Or they could say, man, we're sick of AP's interruptions. Let's just go watch it now. and then no one's watching anymore. Shocker. All right, I had to rewind this.
But here's the thing. You hear how he's saying that the people used to say already that he will probably become Pope. But notice how people are also saying that about me. So.
That is, ooh, I mean, imagine AP's Pope later on, and people are like, we were literally saying that even before he became a cat human. We were saying that he would be the next Pope. And then imagine like after you liberate Constantinople from the Islamic oppression, and people are like, we were saying that.
He's Pope. And when it happened, I went, my God, all those people, what did they see? What did we see even that said we knew he was going to be a priest, let alone a Pope? And we used to tease him, you're going to be a Pope, ha, 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 you're not going to be Pope. And he, as kids do. But here we are. He went, became a priest, bishop, archbishop. When he took that step to be cardinal, it was like, oh my God, he's one step away from a possible papacy. And sure enough, he was tight with Francis, because they both were in South America together. And Francis brought him to Rome, made him a cardinal, so he was one of Francis's inside guys. So right amazing. There, okay, he's got the connections. A lot of the cardinals in his position that Francis put him in Rome knew him because they had to work with him.
I want to ask you a couple of things. I want to ask you a couple more things. Let me take a quick commercial. Stay with me and I'll be right back, okay? All right, so every once in a while, you wind up just getting a special moment, okay? And I have never had the chance to talk to somebody who knows a pope as well as his brother, Louis Prevost. Guys were born in Chicago, and now his younger brother is Pope. And he's talking to us about how they knew when Pope Leo was a child, that there was something about him, that there was something special. And I wanted to bring in Leland as I hand over the show. I mean, I've never had an opportunity like this, Louis. Not only obviously I've been Catholic my whole life, but I've been studying, popes. I've been to 3 conclaves. I mean, this is such a big deal. And Leland, Louis was telling us that when Robert was a kid, instead of like playing cowboys and Indians, he used to play priest. And people said to him when he was coming up, you're the kind of person who could be Pope someday. And Louis, I want you to explain to me and Leland, as a person, what do you think matters about your brother that people should know?
Yeah, we got all that. We didn't need the repetition, Chris. You were doing a good job by steering him onto what we need to know from him. We didn't need a 17-minute recap. All right, here we go.
Boy, that's a good one. I can only, as I know him, whatever. He's a priest, number one. Obviously, he's down to earth. He's able to communicate with poor indigent people that can hardly speak, and he's able to speak with world leaders. He's knowledgeable about religions of all kinds, not just Catholicism.
Did you catch that?
Interesting.
His brother just said he's knowledgeable of religions of all kinds, not just Catholicism.
Prove it. Debate me.
That could be good, except there is this problem of people acting like they're knowledgeable about Islam and then not being at all. So time will tell. Time will tell.
I think
what's up?
What probably happened and why people thought that he would make a good priest and pope is probably he probably got into like every day there are shootings in Chicago, like gang shootings and stuff. So he would probably like spend every day all day just telling people don't shoot, you don't want to do this, you don't want to kill another man. Of course, it didn't help because there are too many shootings, so he can't stop every single one of them. But he would shoot at least 1 out of 50 a day, So this might have contributed to him being recognized as somebody who could become a priest.
That is a fair point and valid point.
I believe a doctorate in theology. He studied all kinds of these things. But to me, his biggest talent or skill, gift, is, again, his ability to communicate with virtually anybody in multiple languages.
Yeah, I was about to say, this guy speaks multiple languages, man. He's sitting there spitting hot fire in English and Italian and so on.
When he
And South America, then you got to know more.
goes to Peru, Spain, he speaks Spanish. Italy, he speaks Italian. Germany, he speaks German. France, he speaks French. Where do you put all this? How do you get all this? Now, how can you switch back and forth? When he gave his speech yesterday, half of it was Italian, then he switched to Spanish. This morning, I think.
AP, that's an advantage you have for future Pope. You speak a bunch of languages and you constantly are learning more. You can be like, you just know those, but I also know Hebrew and I know Turkish. You don't know Turkish, you're not the real Pope.
And Hebrew.
They said he started in English, Italian, without skipping a beat. And as he talks to me as brothers, he's able to talk on that same level to world leaders. Or he can shift gears and talk to them like world leader, Pope to president, for example, if he were to meet.
I have to say, dude, being a great communicator does not mean you should be Pope.
It literally means exactly that.
I'm saying it's very helpful, but I mean, you could take any like White House press secretary and say, "Oh, make this the new Pope." Great communicator.
Trump or anybody else. There's something about his ability to see someone like almost inside. What are they thinking?
It was probably an advantage for him to be to spend a lot of time in Latin America. That's probably where he learned Latin, so that comes as an advantage to becoming Pope. But I would say that being a good communicator is, I think, one of the easy paths to become Pope.
Yeah. So everyone, if you want to become Pope, go get a communications degree and learn like 6 languages.
Can I get to them and make them understand what I'm saying? A story I tell, it's a true story. It happened to me. He and I, when we were kids, I was maybe 10. He was
we got the dirt.
7, maybe 6.
Okay, so he is 3 to 4 years older than his brother. He said he was 10 and his brother was 7 or 6.
We were riding our bikes in a place we shouldn't have been riding. It was a known drug hangout. This was back in the 60s, okay? So gangs back then, juvenile delinquents hung out there, but it was a fun place to ride bikes because it had a lot of hills and trails along the river. We were over there riding bikes, and we did get accosted by a gang of juveniles whipped out their knives. They were going to beat us up and cut us.
They pulled out their knives on a 7-year-old and a 10-year-old?
Look at this.
Pretty screwed up. So is this in Chicago? What?
My irony is that Latin America doesn't mean you learn Latin. What, LMAO? What are you talking about? Why do you think it's called Latin America?
It's literally called Latin
It's literally
America.
in the name, Latin America. What do you think you learned there? Spanish?
It's like a bathroom is not a room. It's in the title, bathroom.
Yeah.
Come on, dude.
Get it.
Stop embarrassing yourself with this.
And leave us there. I was ready to go to war. Because I'm not just going to go down. You're going to have to fight.
That's right.
He got off his bike, said, wait, let me talk to him. Went over there, and they're all getting, mouthing off, and he talked to them for about 3 minutes. They came over, shook hands, almost like we became friends. And I said, what did you say to them? I just talked to them and explained, they didn't need to do this. Somehow he got through.
Hey, AP. Now you know why he named himself Leo.
Because he's a lion?
No, because he just did the same thing that the first Leo did with Attila the Hun. He just said it. He just said it, right? It's a different ability, right? So Leo the First, the original Leo, that dude, Attila the Hun, is invading, and he goes and talks to Attila the Hun, and Attila the Hun says, you know what? We're not going to do this. I'm going to leave. And then this guy's saying that even when they were kids, whether he was a 7-year-old, they're about to get all stabbed up by a gang because they went to the wrong part of Chicago on their bikes. They're about to get all stabbed up. He's ready to throw down. His brother says, let me go talk to him. And these guys become friends and start shaking his hand. Huh.
Well, then it makes sense now.
That's why he named himself Leo. He's like, hey, what Leo the First did with Attila the Hun, I did when I was a kid. I was doing that when I was 7. Not after I was Pope. I was doing that when I was 7.
On that level, to their mentality.
Hey, how cool would it be if his brother's like, yeah, because they were a gang. They're going to stab us. They were called the Huns. That'd be awesome. And their leader was Attila.
And they saw, we don't want to do this. Let these guys go. They're pretty cool. And we rode away like best buddies. To me, damn, that's a miracle. How did he do that? I don't know. And when you see that up close and impersonal, it affects you. I mean, I still remember that 70 years later. It's like, there's something about he has a skill, a talent for...
I have a particular set of skills.
interfacing with people. And I think...
Hey, wouldn't it have been cool if like one of those gang members comes forward? Because he don't know what his brother said to these guys. Wouldn't it be cool if like one of these gang members all these years later is like, I remember that time we actually recorded what he said. And it's like,
you may be thinking about stabbing us right now, but I want you to know I have a particular set of skills that make me very dangerous against gangs like yours.
And it's like all this brutal threat and they like back down. That'd be pretty cool.
That's probably what happened, man.
It could be. And that could have been what happened with Attila.
As he assumes the role as Pope, I believe he's going to be able to repair the seams, the tears in the church hierarchy right now between the conservative side, the liberal side, kind of bring them together back into focus, into what, the church's mission is, what they need to do, what the church needs to do going forward. And at the same time, I think one of the points of his talk yesterday was peace throughout the world. I can see him going around trying to seriously, honestly help resolve conflicts like Russia, Ukraine, Israel, Gaza, India, Pakistan, maybe even, who knows. But because he has that ability to talk to these kind of people,
I have some bad news, man.
I think there's a lot he can and will do in his term.
What? Huh?
I have some bad news when it comes to going and solving the conflict in Gaza. That issue is now, at this point, far beyond going and having the skills to argue for stuff there.
Yeah.
I'm going to tell you, the people there are not going to listen anymore to you as outsiders coming and having good ways of arguing and appealing to compassion and this and that, especially if you fail to recognize what Israel has been dealing with for many, many decades now. So I wouldn't really put my hopes up in that direction.
Yeah, this is not going to be, hey, I'm going to go say some nice words and that's going to fix all the problems and so on. But, hey, I guess having good communication skills can't hurt, but yeah, we'd have to see how you're actually going to solve this situation. Hey, Pope, you really want to impress me? Go solve this problem with some communication skills. Hey, look at this. We got Kel here, who is now blocked. I've warned people. These guys know it. So, guys, people don't understand. Why Christian Prince has sent like hundreds of people at me saying, "Quit, tell David that it doesn't mean submission, it means surrender." He doesn't know that they're synonyms in English. He thinks submit means something like, I submit my paper to you or something like that.
Are we talking about? Are we doing infighting now with Christian Prince?
Yeah. Surrender versus submission. So I always say, hey, Islam means submission. Why? Because that's what any book you go to, it says submission or surrender, submission or surrender, submission or surrender. Christian Prince, for some reason, is obsessed with it not meaning submission. It doesn't, and he says this means something completely different. It has no connection. It doesn't mean Islam means surrender. Okay, guys, just watch something real quick. Watch. Ready?
He needs to learn English.
Okay. Let's look up the meaning of surrender. Okay, guys, got it? Surrender. Oh, and it's a song over on the side. It says surrender. Look at the meaning of surrender. Dictionary. Cease resistance to an enemy or opponent and submit to their authority. Oh, and what? Christian Prince drones. Guys, keep in mind, nothing but respect for Christian Prince for his years of exposing Islam and so on. This is like cult-like behavior. They fixate on some weird little thing and start guys, hundreds of people come over to me. constantly. Anytime I say in Islam, no, David, how dare you? And they like literally flip out and start saying I'm aiding jihadis and I'm helping Islamic supremacists and I'm helping Islam by saying that Islam means submission, right? Look at the actual dictionary definition. Surrender. Cease resistance to an enemy or opponent and submit to their authority. Guys, get this definition out, because we're also going to look up the definition of submit, right? Surrender. Cease resistance to an enemy or opponent and submit to their authority. Cease resistance to an enemy or opponent and submit to their authority. Submit. Accept or yield to a superior force or to the authority or will of another person. Isn't that like the exact same? They're synonyms. They're synonyms. Why, in the name of common sense, would you make it this huge issue where I have to just, oh my goodness, I'm helping the jihadis by using a synonym that everyone on the planet uses except Christian Prince, and I have to do what Christian Prince says. We are not interested. That's why I said I'm so freaking sick of it that I just block you for saying it. Why would you block him? Why'd you block him? Because you guys, every issue we're discussing, every point we make, everything we do, you guys come, oh, David, when are you going to correct yourself and apologize to Christian Prince for using submission and not surrender? It's cult-like behavior, and I just block people who do that. I'm not interested.
The funny thing is, you could argue that there is a little bit that while surrender and submit are obviously synonyms, which you really need to learn English if you don't know that.
And he doesn't. He knows Arabic. And then, again, it's just he just picked up submit means submit like I submit a paper. That's not what this means.
That said, you could say that you could use submission and surrender for slightly different
things. Surrender would have slightly more connotation of like surrendering against a military force.
And the thing is that linguistically, everyone who has ever analyzed the meaning of Islam would agree that the word Islam itself is closer to submission than it is to submission. That said, the two are synonyms. So not only is Prince wrong on the detail, he's also wrong to correct people on this, because it's the same word.
Yeah. In other words, if you happen to prefer using surrender, I don't care. I'm not gonna. Guys, do you think I would actually like send a bunch of people? Oh no, we have to correct Christian Prince on this. Everyone go and constantly go to his comment section and whine about this and say you need to apologize. Like what is that? It's like that's what I mean. It's like, oh, you do great work, but you also are like have a mental problem or something like that. If you fixate on stuff like this and you want to distract from everything we're ever discussing and say no, you have to divert to this and say surrender, not submission. Again, that's like weird cult behavior, and I'm not interested. And so, just want to explain that for all you other guys who are going to come over. And what's going to happen, you guys? You know what's going to happen tomorrow? No matter what's going to happen tonight, right after this live stream. But the chat is going to. I mean, the comment section is going to be filled with no. Christian Prince is right. He said it, and you don't even get it. Oh my goodness.
No, what's going to happen first is that Christian Prince will actually make a live stream in which he will
like a 4-hour live stream, and he's going, who says submit? Submit is no. The submit is what you do when you submit a paper. No. David doesn't know. He doesn't know. It means this.
He also did the same thing with the last time that he was mentioned. That he mentioned us. I briefly, actually quite respectfully, responded to him, and then he made a whole live stream for hours talking about us. And then accusing me of saying something that I never said because he doesn't understand basic English.
It's an ongoing problem. And again, there's no problem with that. If you prefer using this word, it's just quit sending your people to distract us from everything we're doing. We could be discussing anything. There could be an actual jihadi attack, breaking news, and we could be covering it and talking about all the body parts spraying out, and I'll have a Christian Prince guy going, what? David, why did you say submission and not surrender? You've been corrected and destroyed by Christian Prince, who, by the way, his fans are the only people I've ever heard this from in my entire life. I've never had one Arab come up to me and say, what? You said submission? How dare you? Yeah. One guy gets an idea and then not only convinces all his followers of this stupid idea, but like sends them over so that they come and like harass other people. Okay, that's mental. That's mental. Stop harassing people over stupid, idiotic stuff. Christian Prince, we know what you're saying, and we think it's stupid. Learn to deal with it. If you keep sending, I don't care. I mean, I don't care at the end of the day. But now that I've said my piece, again, I'm just going to block people. You show up and say one word about this, guys. I will think, okay, you're in this cult where they fixate on like the dumbest imaginable things and then harass people over it. I'm not interested, guys. We've got important stuff to do. We have a limited amount of time in life. We disagree with you, Christian Prince. Get it through your head that people can disagree with you, can hear you out and think that what you're saying is wrong and not adapt to it. And then you don't need to constantly send hundreds of people to that person to harass that person. Get your mind around that. Are just not interested. And anyone who's like, what is this division? Guys, we are perfect. Do we bother Christian Prince? Do we go over to his channel and start, oh, we disagree with this?
Never.
No, zero times. We don't. Why would we do that? There are certain people who are just obsessed with making everyone else say the same thing, even if they disagree. And it doesn't work like that, man. We're not part of some cult with you. You're not our Pope. We're not our Pope.
That's the funny thing. Final word on this. The last time that he made a live stream about us again, I could have responded to him. I chose not to because I thought, what a stupid, ridiculous waste of time.
Yeah.
What a stupid, absolute. I could spend my time just going through his garbage and start fighting, and I'm sure some people would enjoy it. But what an insanely idiotic waste of time. It's significantly worse than the Christian infighting that happens on a greater level already. Why would I do that? So he doesn't know it. He doesn't know English very well. If he wants to discuss about these things, he needs to learn English. Other than that, stop attacking other Christians. Stop expecting responses from them. I'm not going to attack the guy.
Yeah.
I don't want anyone attacking other apologists or critics of Islam. I think he's doing a good job in terms of, a mildly good job in terms of critiquing Islam. Often he gets stuff wrong, but whatever. Just do your stuff. Yeah. I don't really care. Leave me alone.
Yeah, and it's this weird situation where, because guys, this didn't just happen. David, why are you responding? If you're saying you don't care, why are you responding? Because I actually have to tell people, because I ignore it, guys. I'll sit there and ignore it for months after month after month after month, and they just keep coming until I finally say something, and they flip out even more. But I wanted to make it clear. I wanted okay, all the information you need, I'll put it on the screen. See how in English this is a synonym? It even used submit in the definition of surrender. They're synonyms. In this context, they are synonyms. They have a slightly different connotation in that surrender would be more commonly used as surrender against a military force or something like that. Other than that, submission, guess what? When you submit to Allah, it's not always against a military force. Submit, for all you Christian Prince fans who don't know anything. Submit is like what you would say to a dog, right? A dog who's getting riled up and not listening. You make it submit. You make that dog submit to you. Does what you want. Guess what? That's Islam. That's Islam.
Pov. Anyway,
are we all good? All right, good. Guys, guess what? Probably never going to address this again. We know Christian Prince is going to do 17 live streams on this afterwards to correct us and tell us, no, it means something completely different.
We don't care.
Not interested in talking, but for all future references, if you bring this up and you come, no, David, okay, I'm just going to block you instantly. And if anyone sees me just randomly blocking someone over this stupid issue, and you're like, why would you take that so serious? Yeah, I'm sick of this nonsense. We've got so many things to do. We've got such a short amount of time.
Actually, you said it's stupid. It's actually not stupid. It's actually idiotic.
This is idiotic. He said it's stupid. I can't believe this. Oh my goodness.
And look, saying,
David, are you going to apologize for lying about Christian Prince? He was right. He corrected you. You have to apologize.
This is what I have to deal with these guys. And they wonder why I'm not interested.
Apologize for saying stupid instead of idiotic.
Yeah, you should have said idiotic, not stupid.
All right, let's finish this. There's only like a minute left in this video. Let's see.
Hope. And I'm looking forward to see all the good things that he can bring forth for the church.
Well, Leland, I hand the show over to you. Lewis, I just wanted to say thank you very much. Congratulations and blessings to your family.
Okay, we don't need this other dude on here. All right, guys. So we heard. Who did we hear from? We heard the Pope's. We heard 1 minute of his homily where he's speaking in English, a language that people actually understand. Then he switched to Italian. And we had Cameron Bertuzzi and his melodious Italian voice reading a translation in English. We had the Apostate Prophet explaining all the differences in the entire history of the disputes between the Eastern Orthodox and Catholic Church. And then we heard from the new Pope's brother who grew up with him. And points out, we were joking about it and stuff, but he points out his brother is able to communicate with pretty much anyone, even in situations where you would think this is not going to end well. This looks impossible. Guys are about to stab us and so on. We're kids. And somehow he could just walk up and he'll start talking to someone and kind of win them over. And then AP's like, well, that would be useless in dealing with the situation in Gaza. And I was like, well, better to try to use some of that communication ability.
I heard there was one instance where he actually confronted these guys who were pulling knives on him, and then he said, "I will not submit." And they said, "What submit? You mean surrender?" He said, "No, I mean submit." "You can't say submit. You have to say surrender." And then, but he solved it then by explaining the difference between surrender and submit and how it's actually the same thing. So.
Yeah, that's because that could have gone a different way, right? They could have said he could have said, "No, this is the only meaning," and they could have just started stabbing him, right? But he was actually able to win.
This is why he's a good pope. Yeah.
All right, guys, let's check out these super chats. AP looks like Bob Rossi. You sure it's not Bob Ross?
No, different guy.
Is that a different guy?
Yeah, Bob Rossi is a different guy.
Hang on.
He draws anime stuff. I'm just messing with you, man.
No, because there are multiple Bob Rossies. None of them look like that. Bob Ross, you do look like that. Bob Ross, except the sunglasses, but he had the regular glasses and stuff. Yeah, you do look like Bob Ross. But there are tons of Bob Rossies. None of them look like AP. None of them. Bob Ross is the only one that looks like AP. He's the only Bob who looks like AP right now. So I had to correct that. Oh, never mind. This next one from a different person said AP looks like Bob Ross. What are the odds? Two people. Both saw the same thing, and yet one of them was completely wrong and gave a completely fake name.
You see.
D. Wood, when I told you I debated Muslim Lantern, you sound surprised. Why would I be surprised? I don't know who you are. You could have debated Muslim Lantern 5,000 times. I didn't know he was debating. I mean, who's Muslim? Which one's Muslim Lantern? Is that the guy that Andrew Wilson debated?
1.8. Yeah, that's him.
That's Muslim Lantern?
The 1.8 inch guy, that's him.
Yeah, okay. So he's the one who opened the door for that sort of thing. I've never paid attention to Muslim Lantern for a long time, mainly because the first thing I heard about him was that he was getting GodLogic copyright strike. In other words, when you go through someone's videos like this, what we do is protect it. It's protected by fair use, meaning you are allowed to respond to other people's stuff. I can't just play someone else's video. That would be illegal. So for all the people, why don't you just play the video and quit interrupting? Okay, because that would be illegal. That's a violation of copyright law, right? YouTube would terminate your account if you keep doing that. You're allowed to play someone's copyrighted content if you're interacting with it and responding to it and transforming it by adding your own input, which is why you're allowed to play something and discuss it and so on. However, people can still complain to YouTube and file the paperwork to get your stuff taken down, even though you would win. But it could be a situation where you could even have to go to court to show that what you're doing is fair use and so on. And YouTube just basically backs down until you deal with it in a legal way and so on. So anyway, first thing I heard, assuming I'm talking about the same person, I think it was Muslim Lantern when GodLogic was saying he was having problems with Muslim Lantern flagging him anytime he'd share his stuff and so on. And that's just dirtbag move. So anyway, not interested in what he's doing. And you're saying send it to you, send you the debate. I wouldn't be interested in watching and playing a clip by him. I'd be concerned that he's going to flag that to try and get it. Keep in mind, you would win this stuff, and if it was important enough, I'd take my stand and play it. Like people could flag anything we're playing right now. Like Chris Cuomo could actually flag us for playing a clip. What we did is fair use. So there are times I'd be interested in saying, okay, I'm going to play this, and if people want to file a false copyright complaint or something like that, I'll fight the false copyright complaint. But if it's just some dumb channel or something like that spouting Dawa nonsense, I'm probably not interested. And so I just probably, okay, fine. If you want to play that game, then we just won't interact with you. Clutch says, so I'm still learning the scriptures, but since the Lord Jesus gave us a direct line of prayer, why would we need to pray for Mary to intercede? Honest question. Oh, hi, David. We've actually discussed this before, and I've said so. I'll just say what I said before. What I said before was, I've never prayed to Mary. I've never asked Mary to intercede and so on. But and you know, when I see, and through the intercession of Mary, I'm like, okay, I don't see this in the Bible and so on. So it's not something I'm going to do unless someone provides some sort of compelling reason to do it. However, I can kind of see the reasoning behind it, and there's an obvious objection to what you're saying. Namely, if you're saying, hey, if you can pray to God directly, why would you ask someone else for intercession? Well, you've got an interesting problem there, because even in like the letters of Paul, he says, pray for us. So he's talking to other people, but if you can just pray directly, why would you ask other people to pray for you? And yet, the Bible thinks that's fine. It's perfectly fine to be asking other people to pray for you. Hey, pray for me. We do that constantly. I've never seen anyone object. Hey, why are you praying for me? Why are you asking that guy to pray for you? Why don't you just pray directly to God? Well, guess what? You can do both. You can say, hey, pray for me, and you can pray. And then you've got other people praying for you and so on. So the idea here is, if you believe that people who have died are actually still alive, and you believe that you can actually communicate with them somehow. Keep in mind, this is a second issue. How do you actually communicate with Mary? Like, is she omniscient or something like this? Is she omnipresent? Is she omniscient? How is she getting this? I talked to a priest once about this. He was in line to become a Jesuit and so on. But anyway, I was asking about this stuff once. And so I don't know if this is just his opinion or if this is like just standard theology. What he said is he believes that he doesn't believe that Mary is omnipresent or omniscient or something like this. He believes that when you ask Mary to intercede, God actually makes sure she gets the message, and then she can intercede. So God is the one who's omniscient, but he can convey your message. And of course, then the follow-up is, well, if God's already hearing me, then why is he taking someone else and stuff? Anyway, the point here is, even though it's not something I do and still seems kind of weird, it's not something I'm like, oh, this is a deal breaker and this is completely wrong. I don't know. This could all be correct. I can ask another person to pray for me. Why couldn't I, at least in theory, if it were true that God is conveying your message to Mary and that Mary can intercede and so on, why could you not do the same thing in that situation? So
that's actually pretty solid. There's actually, I was expecting some garbage take here, but just kidding. No, there's actually a very solid explanation, and on many levels. But so I would say, I wouldn't want to be an authority or anything on this. I would only present my my little understanding that I have gotten of this so far. So I would suggest looking for an answer to that if you are genuinely curious from certain priests or others who will tell you more about that. But it is a very ancient, very old tradition. It is from the very early days of the church, and again, the main thing that I would go for is what David just very much pointed out. When you are sick, when you have something coming up, it is very, very common for anybody outside of the tradition of Catholicism or Orthodoxy to ask people for prayers, right? To say, hey, please pray for me. To especially, ask devout people and all that for their prayers. So if you believe that that certain people are very holy, and they are not dead, and they are still witnesses to all, which is very much biblical. It's directly in the New Testament. What would be so wrong about asking them to pray for you as well? So you would, for example, then in the tradition of Catholicism or Orthodoxy, say, Mother of God, pray for us. Mary, pray for us, and so on. Intercede for us. There are examples of during the earthly time that it's a very, very interesting passage where first at the wedding at Cana, where Jesus has not yet started showing miracles, where Mother Mary actually tells him, to do something, and he says, "What do you want from me? My time has not yet come." And then she nevertheless goes ahead and tells people to go and do whatever he says, and then he shows his first miracle, which is usually given as a first instance of her directly interceding and instructing and making him perform a miracle right there, which is the first miraculous sign that Jesus performs. And then if she is so influential, and if she is chosen as a vessel, if she is called blessed in the New Testament, and if she directly says, which is in the Gospel of Luke, right, that generations will call me blessed, and so on. So if she is so special, and if she is directly interceding here, and if you then believe that she is not dead, and if you then believe that according to Revelations, the people in heaven are watching and are praying over you and praying for you, and so on. If you believe in the cloud of witnesses, as you find it in the New Testament, then why would it be so insane and so ridiculous to ask Mother Mary for her intercessions and for her prayers, considering that she is in a very, very special role in the New Testament, in the Bible, that she's in a very special role, and she's a very special mediator, a very special intercessor, as she was here and possibly also is then in heaven. There's nothing wrong with that. I mean, it's a very, very good practice, and it's also not a distraction. It's not like you're distracting from God. On the contrary, you are making it all about God. You're making it all about Jesus. My first introduction to Christian practices and Christian prayers came through the Rosary, and I have to say, it really made me love. It made me love Christianity. Coming especially from Islam, right? With Islam, with a very iconoclastic background. Funnily enough, they pray toward the cube, but with the whole rejection of Christianity, with the rejection of anything that elevates Jesus as a human, supposedly over God and whatever they want to view it as, coming into Catholicism and praying the Rosary, and then finding humility and acknowledging, yes, I can directly pray to God, and yes, God directly offers the path for me to pray to him and to ask him. I could still humble myself and also ask this wonderful chosen person, this wonderful chosen woman, who is repeatedly pointed out as a blessed intercessor. I could ask her for her prayers and take her as an example in devotion and so on. There's nothing but beauty and, really, really good stuff about this. It really brought me closer and made me love Christianity. I don't know what could possibly be wrong with it. It's not like you're worshiping her. It's not like you're worshiping the saints that you ask for intercession. It's a very, very good practice, and the focus of it is the more God and their intercession for you before God.
So you heard it here, folks. You can read the Bible all day long. You never get the impression that you're supposed to be praying to anyone else. But if you go to the Church of Trust Me, Bro, they'll tell you all about how you're supposed to pray to all these different people.
Powerful. Exactly.
Let's see. Godlike Snake says, David, you said a hilarious pun a while back that was along the lines of Norm Macdonald's, yeah, a cauliflower. That was your best one yet. No, that was the dumbest thing I'd ever said. That was, we were going through some of the Muhammad Hijab clips, and I said, no, Muhammad Hijab, I was imitating his followers. No, Muhammad Hijab couldn't have done that. He's so noble. He's so noble. And I go, yeah, Chernobyl. And then me and AP instantly started laughing at how stupid that was. But some people liked it.
You see.
Imagine you're following your prophet and he tells you to stay behind this line. I'm about to do some weird stuff with the Al-Zut. Yeah. It's going to suck. We're going to have to, you obviously can't make a video about everything that happened, but that little beginning scene there, stay behind this line. You're about to see some weird stuff.
Yeah.
And then I'm going over here with with the El Zut. That would be super weird.
Yeah, I want to clarify one thing, which is I briefly wanted to say this, but I see that some people bring this up. But so nobody believes that Mary is an almighty woman who has the ability to solely listen to you and make sure that you are saved. That's not the idea here. You still are saved only through faith in Christ and following His commandments and all that. What you do is that you ask another person, right? A very significant person, not a divine figure, a very significant person who you believe is still alive and is still there, to pray for you, basically. So even the popular phrase, save us, when you say it to Mary, the implication there is for her to do whatever she can to intercede and to pray for you and to help with your salvation and help keep you within the favor of God and all that. So just want to point that out.
Ain't nobody got time for that, man.
Powerful.
Have you seen Mr. Murad's translation of the Quran? No. Celeria says, hey, Celeria, well, I guess I'm a little late. You are indeed. Decided to drop in anyway to say hello and see what you have to say. Then I hear AP's looking at OnlyFans girls. Yeah, I don't want to point out the obvious. He's like, oh my goodness, I'm sitting here looking at these OnlyFans girls and I see some Christians there who want Israel to be destroyed. And it's like, wait a minute, what were you doing looking at the OnlyFans girls? And you just happen to see these guys while you're checking out? Come on, man.
All I wanted to do was look at these OnlyFans girls, and then what do I see there? Jay Dyer sitting next to them. What is this?
Now we all know, while we're live talking about the new Pope, AP's checking out boobies, and then he sees some other guys there.
Yeah, terrible.
Muhammad was in Islam's most holy position, but not the same thing at all. Al-Zut, yeah. Yep, he was in the holiest position of Islam. The Pope's brother, remember Billy Beer? Billy Beer was, that was Jimmy Carter's brother. So Jimmy Carter became Pope, and then his brother came out with a beer, Billy Beer.
He became Pope? That's interesting.
President, man, president.
You just said Pope.
It's the same thing. It's like he's like the Pope of America. Okay, Jimmy Carter became president, ladies and gentlemen. And then his brother came out with a beer, Billy Beer. It's crazy how Catholics need all of these. That would be funny if this Pope's brother did the same thing. Wouldn't that be funny if he came out with his own beer? It's crazy how he should come up with his own wine or something like that. It's crazy how Catholics need all of these reminders of dead people and saints to remember Christ when all I need is Christ and His Scripture.
They don't actually need any of that. They don't need it, but it's actually very, very good and very helpful. What's wrong with it? For example, when we just talked about it, right? Alexander Schmorell, considered a saint in the Eastern Orthodox Church. And why do you remember him? And do you need to remember him? First off, no, you don't. Do you have to have this in order to have a connection with Jesus? No, you don't. Absolutely don't. I have this. Some people have it. Usually, the only, for example, icons in the Orthodox Church that are usually kept or that are usually fundamental are the one of Christ as ruler of all, and the one of him as a baby with Mother Mary. That's it. And you look at it and you remember them and so on. But it is a bridge, right? It's a helpful thing, and you do whatever is helpful to keep you with God and to keep you with it. You could just surround yourself with empty walls or with, random stuff, or you could surround yourself with good things that connect you further to God. That's it.
So you heard it here, folks. Alexander Schmorell is the bridge between heaven and earth, according to AP.
Exactly. That's exactly what I said.
I was away for an hour, and David got Lenny Kravitz instead of AP on his live. Who will come next?
I'm actually, what's the guy's name? Damn, I want to make a joke now. I forgot the guy's name. Who was that stupid night show host?
Which one? There's been a ton of night show hosts, man.
I don't know. I forgot his name. Whatever. Continue.
Do you remember some particular show?
Yeah. He was a pervy guy. Whatever, move on.
Okay. Who will come next? I don't know, but I'll just say AP did buy multiple wigs, so we will be getting multiple different people. The friendly apostate of Allah has a new video, by the way. Yes, she announced it, and we announced it, and we mentioned both of you earlier while you were gone. David, what denomination of Christianity are you? The Christian one. The guy on the left sounds like Jordan Peterson. Sounds a lot like Jordan Peterson, eh?
Yeah.
David Wood says we don't need repetition. That's right. No, we don't need repetition unless it's from me, because this is the D Wood and AP show. Since he's a gamer, has he used the gamer word? What's the gamer word? Who's the gamer? AP will be first pope with kids, you see.
You see?
Hey, wait a minute. Peter had kids. Hey, AP, unfortunately, the filioque is more complicated than the church has been the same for 1,000 years. Athanasius himself wrote in his creed, the Holy Ghost is of the Father and the Son. Oh, hi, David.
No, I know that. I know the filioque was an issue that was very. This is what I tried to point out earlier. It didn't just come around the 900s or the 1000s. It was already from the very early times of the church. The West and the East developed kind of differently, and also had a slightly different understanding in a little way of the relationship between the Trinity and all that. So. Yeah, I know it goes back much further than that, and it's much more complicated than that. However, can't we just find some common ground?
No. There must be eternal war. Cam is being dishonest. Ooh, Jerry. Cam is being dishonest about James White denying Ignatius. Look at White's blog post.
What are you talking about, man? I had it right here.
2025, where he
we know exactly
this.
what James White tweeted. He tweeted about Ignatius, and he basically was it a tweet? I don't know. He basically literally just suggested that we don't even know if Ignatius actually existed or not, or something like that. Dare you?
Yeah, so this is like saying, are you going to apologize to Kristen Prince? Is Cam going to apologize to James White?
No, I don't know. I knew nothing about it except for seeing a couple tweets on this, so I have no idea what James actually said. But if Cam is being deceptive, it would fit because he's Italian. But it seems like he said something along those lines, and that's why Cam's still even bringing it up, tossing jabs. So I don't know. It may be something where James said something and then backtracked and tried to clarify it. Or I mean, you can always say, no, I may have said that poorly, and let me correct myself on the way I said it and so on. But I would be surprised if Cam just completely misrepresented him. I'd be surprised about that. And he would be dead to me forever, just so you know, if he's actually deliberately misrepresenting James White. Are you looking this up? Because I'm going to move on, because we're not going to sit around for 3 hours while you stoke the flames of division between Catholics and Calvinists. Has the Pope ever been far, even as decided to use, even go, want to do, look more like what? Muhammad, how a particular set of skills. Yeah, Muhammad had a particular set of skills with Al-Zut. You may think that Leo XIV, let's get it right, Leo XIV is the new Pope, but Allah just made it appear that way. You see, truly Allah is the best of deceivers. That is an issue. You don't know what to believe if Allah is involved. Christians need to stop fighting each other and just submit to Jesus, read the Bible, and with the help of the Holy Spirit, we are supposed to be able to discern what is truth. Love you guys. Potato, potato, tomato, tomato. Who cares, lol? Yeah, good point. That's my view. Tell CP you love him, but it's okay to disagree. Yeah, we love CP. Does not mean we want to interact with people who just constantly pick these weird things. Because guys, keep in mind, it's not the only thing. Remember AP when he was flipping out at us for saying that Jesus was a Jew, and that was this big issue.
What? You're saying Jesus was a Jew? How dare you say that Jesus was a Jew? He's not Jew. He's God. Yeah, we understand that. But there's this whole incarnation thing. No! And then there's got to be like a 15-hour live streams exposing us for saying exactly what the Bible says. Anyway, yeah, that's just the thing.
not interested in those kinds of things.
So I now apologize on behalf of Cameron Bertuzzi and myself.
Finally.
But I actually just listened to the bit, which is actually from a discussion between James White and this other guy. And what he's saying is that while he hopes that St. Ignatius actually wrote these things, there is now debate about whether he actually did, and the increasing opinion, which is becoming central, is that he may not have existed, or that he may not have written those things. So he's floating this idea while he himself hopes that he did. So he didn't outright, as far as I understand, he denied that.
What did you say, consensus, though, that he didn't exist?
He says it's becoming a popular or increasingly the central opinion that he did not exist, or something like that, which is kind of, I don't think
Where?
that's...
I never heard of that until this year.
Yeah, I don't think that's accurate at all. I'm sure that people take issue with that, because he seems to present a very I almost said cringe instead of fringe, but yeah, cringe and fringe opinion here, as if it was central. But I don't think he actually denied Ignatius's existence.
Okay, so I didn't think you had to say that Ignatius didn't exist, but he's saying that I hope he existed, but there's a growing position that he didn't, or something like that.
Something along those lines.
But what would be the reason for pointing that out? Is someone quoting Ignatius for something, and then he's like, but I hope he existed. We don't even know if he existed or not. Something like that.
Well, I'm not sure about the entire context of the conversation, but I think that one of the reasons that people bring up Ignatius to James White, for example, would be that Ignatius is a very extremely early church father who said some very significant things about the Eucharist, for example, which people like James White would heavily disagree on. So doubting the existence or the authenticity of the writings of Ignatius would be in the favor of those who have an issue with the traditional view on the Eucharist.
Well, if you love what Ignatius said so much, why don't you put him in the Bible, AP? Why don't you guys do that? Just stick Ignatius right there in the Bible, right beside the Apostle Paul.
That's it. I'm just guessing here. I don't really know the context of the conversation. So,
have you guys seen Conclave? No. You see Conclave? No, you didn't.
No.
Rosary Live, when? You got to do the Rosary Live, AP.
Are you waiting for me? What are you doing?
Do your rosary, man. Celeria says, regarding the matter David was talking about earlier, with the priest saying it's God's omniscience that would allow communication, the Holy Spirit unites the church. What is so hard about the Spirit linking heaven and earth? Yeah, the question is not God's ability. So I grant that's exactly how God could do things, right? You could actually ask Mary to intercede for you. God, I would have a problem if you said Mary is omniscient or something like that, and she knows when you're praying, wherever you're praying. I would have an issue with that, because then it starts sounding like she has divine attributes or something like that. So that would be weird. But if you're saying that when you ask Mary to intercede for you, God conveys that message to her, and then she is able to intercede for you, it's not. I'm not denying the possibility and so on. In fact, I've granted, okay, yeah, that would all fit together. It's just, I don't have a reason, apart from if I believed in the authority of the church, to say something like that and to speak accurately on that issue. I would say I've never seen a reason to think that is true, that that's what's going on. So it's not, that can't be happening. And it's not even me saying it's definitely not happening or something like that. It's just I've never seen a reason to think that's happening. So anyway, I don't do it. So yes, I grant that what is so hard about the Spirit linking heaven and earth? Nothing. Eden Alexander's release from Hamas just announced. Whoa! Did you hear that?
Oh yeah, that was hours ago.
Oh really? Interesting. That's good news.
Apparently,
was that part of a deal or something?
Trump said that with Egypt, sitting down with Egypt and Qatar, the terrorist funders, they came to a resolution to finally take action to a deal that Israel agreed to many months ago, and to release this hostage first as a gesture to America, and to also fully release the other hostages. Now, I don't think that Hamas is actually going to go through with that, but this is what they're working toward.
So what was this? They released one?
Yeah, only one hostage so far, who is an American citizen. And yeah.
Okay. Well, I have to say, we want them to release all the hostages, and we want Hamas to surrender and so on. I certainly have my doubts about Hamas surrendering, but every hostage that is released is very good news, and it's one step closer to all the hostages being released.
Yeah. That said, he's not. I mean, he hasn't been released yet. He is set to be released. So that's it. Hamas said that they're going to release him.
All right. I did want to point out. So we're going to be closing out here in a couple minutes as soon as we get through these rest of these super chats. But I did say we do a poll on whether we should trust the Pope. And keep in mind, guys, this could be on different things. Obviously, if you're not Catholic, you're not going to trust the Pope on all issues of theology or doctrine or something like that. You might disagree with him on something. It's not saying if I say I trust if I say I trust AP, yes, I trust AP. Do I agree with him on everything? No, I don't.
Yes.
There's no one on this planet that I agree with on everything, and yet there are people I trust. So, when I say should we trust Pope Leo XIV, it's more like are you going to do a good job and something like that? I don't know. Are you going to be smart with jihad or not, or really dumb or something like that? We don't have a lot to go on. So we've had a little bit of information shared in here. Some of you probably know significantly more. But anyway, just as a general question, take this to mean whatever you want and go ahead and vote. Should we trust Pope Leo XIV? And there we go. I'll find out. I think this is going to tell us how many Catholics and non-Catholics are watching. Let's see. So Eden Alexander, that is good news indeed. Glad you told me about that. Sounds good, AP. I do love you, my brother in Christ. I must have heard you wrong. Let our common ground be a joint pursuit of being temples for the Holy Spirit to reside.
Amen. Amen.
So Dimer's friend takes back every bad word he ever said about AP. Good. Why refuse Toad Bader Mansour in 2012 Speaker's Corner? What? Cutter. Mansour had... Oh, why refuse to debate why are you refusing to debate Mansour in 2012? I debated Mansour a long time ago. He came up to me at Speaker's Corner in I guess it's 2012 or something like this. And after I'd been yelling for hours and then says, hey, let's debate. I said, okay, we'll debate Muhammad. No, we're only going to debate that. I wasn't interested. I'm not your Dhimmi. You don't control what I do. And then I went back last year ready to debate. Mansour won't debate anymore. So we're in 2025. He's been there for decades. He will not debate anymore. He will only agree to debate someone who doesn't know the Dawa script. He actually calls the cops on people. Look, check it out. There's a video of him. The guy they call Young Bob, who's like 16 years old, goes up to him, and Mansour's like, "Please, please, please help me, please, please." So yeah, there aren't many Christian Muslim debates there anymore with the classic Dawa guys because they're all scared to death now.
I have to say, for the poll, by the way, the current poll, should we trust Pope Leo XIV? The correct answer would be yes, so everybody should be voting yes, just so you know.
Oh, by the way, Mansour, that was the guy who, because he didn't know who God Logic was, because God Logic's pretty new, he didn't know who God Logic was, and he was fine having a conversation with God Logic, people recording. Then as soon as he's talking about stuff and it's clear that God Logic knows something about Islam, Mansour, I'm not interested in having this discussion, and then leaves. And then everyone comes up to God Logic a couple minutes later like, Mansour's over on the other side of Speaker's Corner. Mansour's over on the other side of Speaker's Corner talking to a Christian woman trying to convert her. And so like God Logic had to track him down. Like, wait a minute. You said you're not interested in discussing this stuff, and then you run and start discussing this stuff with a woman. What's going on here? And it's clear. They are giving up, ladies and gentlemen. They are giving up on Dawah to anyone who already knows the Dawah script. They know it doesn't work.
I'm a Mansour.
And it's pretty pathetic. Abraham Hart. As someone with a background in psychology, plausible evidence for me of Eastern Orthodox authenticity would be if a psychopath like D. Wood would convert. Until then, I shall remain a Protestant. Get your best game on, AP.
Probably.
These are all good points. I've been thinking about converting to Islam for a while. What would be your advice? Serious question. You've been thinking about converting to Islam?
Stay away from Islam.
Yeah, that would be AP's advice. My serious answer here is whatever the Dawa guys told you about Islam that's making you think that it's true, look it up. Look it up. When they told you, oh, the scientific miracle, look it up. Look up what they say. Look it up. When they say, oh, the Quran's been perfectly preserved, look that up. This does not take a ton of research to realize every single thing they're telling you is a lie. They do not. You are dealing with people. This is not the case. This is not the case for other religions. If I'm talking to a Hindu and asking a question about what Hinduism teaches, probably going to be giving me the best answer he can and the most accurate answer he can. If I'm talking to a Jew, if I'm talking to an atheist, people generally try to speak honestly about what they believe. You get to Islam and you're dealing with a crowd of people who believe that it is perfectly acceptable to lie to you to get you into the religion. And they will make up anything they can to get you to convert to the religion, and they believe they're doing something good. They're sending you to heaven by lying to you. So you need to be aware of that and look up everything. In fact, Flustered Torchic here, if you want to join us in a live stream and you just go through every single awesome point. In fact, whatever Dawa guy is talking to you, bring your favorite Dawa guy. Bring your favorite Dawa guy to have this discussion with us. Make the offer to your favorite Dawa guy and watch your favorite Dawa guy. Oh, no, I'm not going to talk to you. Why? They know these things might work with someone. They know it wouldn't work with us. And that's why they're going to run. So that would be my advice. Solaria says, just watched Beauty and the Beast animated version today, and I had an epiphany. Gaston acts like a human Allah. He even claims to be best of plotters. I know the general gist of Beauty and the Beast. I do not even know the basic story. I've never watched it.
You haven't watched it?
No, something about this guy being a monster, and then he looks like a giant, dog monster or something like that? Bear dog, like a giant bear dog. What, do they fall in love or something like that? I don't know. It's kind of creepy.
Yeah.
AP will challenge the new pope to ultimate debate. No, he will challenge new pope to mubahala. When Saul had Samuel brought up by the witch because he wanted guidance, Samuel freaked out at Saul. I wonder if the saints feel the same. That is an interesting point there. Necromancy, consulting. I'm trying to, because I try to give the benefit of the doubt and at least represent someone's position accurately. I'm trying to think of how they would respond to this, and maybe they have offered responses already. But I would guess so. In the Old Testament, you went to the abode of the dead and so on. And so if you're bringing up Samuel, you're bringing up from the Sheol, the abode of the dead. Whereas if you're talking about Mary, you would believe that she is now in the presence of Jesus, and therefore it's a different kind of situation. I don't know. This is off the top of my head. Let's see. David, as a Catholic, I appreciate your take on saintly intercession, not speaking in black-white terms, but in possibility for some wiggle room. Get some Catholic theologians on. You could learn lots from them. Any Catholic theologian who wants to join us will be humiliated. Talking to you, Cameron Bertuzzi. But if the Pope wants to join us, he can join us. Come on, David. We all know the real Mansoor had a midnight rendezvous with the Al-Zut. Yeah, Muhammad is the real Mansoor. Oh, that's true. That's true. AP, are you trying to be the Dajjal?
Yeah.
AP is the new Dajjal, everyone. All right. Well, I think we've covered everything. What is the... Ooh. Everyone has been voting. And after 371 votes asking, should we trust Pope Leo XIV? We've got 51% saying no. What's wrong with you guys? You don't even know him yet. How are you going to make a decision about whether you trust a guy or not until you've seen him in action? Shouldn't we all wait a year and see what he does? No, guys, I don't know. I don't actually know. That's why I'm not even voting. I gotta see what he does over the next year, 2 years, 3 years, and stuff like that, and then I'll let you know. Then I'll let you know what I think. I have to say, it's good information from his brother. What's up?
Are we talking about 1 Samuel 28? Are we talking about a literal case of necromancy here?
Yeah, he went to like the witch of Endor and said, "Raise up Samuel so I can ask him some questions."
Well, that wouldn't be the same thing because this is because it would be an explicitly forbidden practice of necromancy.
Yeah. So the question is, are you still one? Does asking Mary for intercession, is that necromancy? Keep in mind, you're talking about like raising up someone to talk to them and so on and get responses from them from the dead and so on. So it's a different situation. But the question is, would that rule apply to seeking the intercession of Mary? Sounds like you're saying no.
No, it obviously wouldn't, because what you're doing when you ask for the intercessions of the saints is not that you are engaging in necromancy, but rather in since we know and we have it very much confirmed that those who pass are alive and are witnesses, we simply ask them to pray for. We're not raising anybody from the dead or trying to speak to them as spirits and all that. So, not the same thing.
That's AP's defense of necromancy, everyone. Can the Pope make his own compiler and or comp OS? I don't know what any of that means.
You see?
Thoughts on Terry Davis? I have none because I have no idea who that is. I know who Terry Crews is. I don't know who Terry Davis is. This is Solaria explaining whatever that thing is. Something between a dog, man, and wildebeest. That sounds about right. I know it from the pictures. And Shane here says, yes, it is. It's still Samuel. Mm-hmm. Now you know. Now you know. All right, guys. 51% have said no, we should not trust Pope Leo XIV. Should have taken, what we should have done? Should have taken the poll at the beginning and then taken a poll at the end.
Because we know at the beginning it would have probably been 80% no, but now it's only 51%.
Or it may have been 100% yes, and then people heard the story of him interacting with the bicycle, with the gang on the bicycles and stuff when they were kids. It might have been like, no, he should have fought like a man. I don't trust him.
This is true. There's always a possibility. Yeah. It could be either way. It could go either way. But I would say that so far we haven't seen anything really from the Pope. Lots of people have made lots of speculations. Lots of people said, "Oh, this is going to be a super ultra woke guy," and it doesn't really look like that at the moment. He seems very reserved in his general track record in the past. He seems like a tradition center oriented guy. I think he was also a registered Republican in America, so which is also very, very interesting. Seems like a regular conservative guy, but seems to have some opinions in line with the open-minded, inclusion aspect that don't seem to go into very bad directions. He's also against the whole LGBTQ agenda and so on. So I don't think it's really plausible to judge at this point. But he strikes me as a good guy.
Nice try, AP, but the voting has already been done. You can't make your last-minute spiel for the new Pope.
Really?
Now.
Why did I say all of this?
And I don't know why you're rushing to try and defend it. The dude's already elected, man. Like the campaign is over.
I was trying to influence the voting. Why did I say all of this?
It's too late. You just wasted all your time. Oh, in fact, you shifted people in the other direction. Now 52% say no. The more AP talks, the more people go against the Pope. This is really, really wild stuff. And, of course, Black Angel says 51% non-Catholics here. That's all the poll says. Really? Why are 52% saying they don't trust him? Huh? So you're saying even some of the Catholics don't trust him? And how do we know? How do we know, Black Angel, that it isn't 100% Catholics who are watching right now and only 49% actually trust him?
You see.
And here we have, you consider Temple OS the third temple?
Yes.
What? Temple OS?
The temple operation system.
Oh.
I'm just making it up.
Oh, yeah. We don't know what that means.
Yeah.
All right.
In all honesty, when I hear that somebody is a Christian or a Christian clergyman, my initial thing is to trust him. And then if I see something bad, then I guess then I can reevaluate.
So you have a couple of different options there, according to AP. So some new clergyman comes along, whatever role that is. One, you could trust the person until you have reason not to trust the person, or you could not trust the person until that person earns your trust, or you could just kind of remain neutral and say, okay, I'll wait until more information comes out, and so on.
Yep. And I would say this with anybody, whether it is an Orthodox, it is a Catholic, or even if it is a Protestant, I would say my initial thing would be to trust the person,
even if it's a Protestant Pope.
Yeah, even if it's the Protestant Pope, the Pope of the Protestants, then I would say, reason to trust is there until I see a reason not to trust. In any case, I would say that the wisest thing would always be to just agree with whatever I say. So,
And Solaria said, Yahweh isn't the God of the dead, but of the living. That is true. Jesus pointed out. And Michelle Marie says, the saints that Catholics ask intercession from are not omnipotent, omniscient, so how can any talk to them? Yeah, we kind of already discussed that, Michelle. I don't know if you're watching this, if you started watching it later and so on. But I keep in mind, I'm not defending it. I pointed out I've never seen any reason to believe this is true, but it's certainly possible. It's certainly possible. But the idea is that when you have something to say to Mary, God would take God would give your message to Mary, and then Mary can intercede. So that would be the idea. And for the idea, why would you be talking to Mary and not talking to just directly to God? The situation, the parallel would be, well, you ask other people on earth to pray for you, so why not people there? And so what I granted was, well, if God's actually doing that, I can't say that God obviously could do that. God obviously has the ability to do that. So anyway, that's how it would happen.
Yeah, when somebody says, "Please pray for me," you could just say, "Why? Just go pray for yourself."
Pray for yourself, Luther. Why in the moment you just asked me to pray for you, you could have been praying you could have been praying yourself.
See what's wrong with you.
Since the second resurrection hasn't happened yet, wouldn't praying to saints or Mary be similar to ancestral veneration? Well, keep in mind,
No.
if you're talking about resurrection, that would mean actually raising the dead. You can believe that people are alive right now, but not resurrected. That's a different thing. Resurrection is restoring your body in a glorified form. It's reuniting your soul to your body and then raising your body up in a glorified form. So that's a separate issue from whether someone is alive after death. And finally here, Temple OS is a computer operating system. So you're right, AP, built from the ground up by Terry David. This is why you're asking about Terry. Why don't you clarify this stuff instead of asking us all these questions before we even know what you're talking about? Temple OS. So now we know. Temple OS is a computer operating system built from the ground up by Terry A. Davis. Bro was a schizo and used the N-word a lot, but he was a genius. Well, you do have people who are mad scientist level geniuses in certain areas, but you have this problem with people their brains are turbocharged in certain areas, and then they're weird because their brains don't work normally in other areas. And they actually read an article about that years ago. They used to, because they were studying this related to autistic savants. So some autistic people, like Rain Man, the movie Rain Man, some people who are autistic get super abilities in certain areas of their brain. Like they can multiply 13-digit numbers in their heads and so on, all kinds of stuff that you think, whoa, how is that even possible? So they started studying. What they used to think was that since your brain isn't working normally in certain areas, that your brain compensates by putting all of its power and energy into this one area, and then it ends up supercharged. What they found out was that no, all of our brains are capable of doing this. Your brain right now is capable of multiplying 13-digit numbers quickly on its own. But because so many parts of your brain are active, they're generating electrical interference with all the other parts. And so the idea was when someone has a brain that's less active in certain areas, it's generating less interference with the other areas, and those other areas are actually able to do the turbocharged stuff. In other words, your brain is able to do all these things that all these people with amazing abilities can do. But because your brain is working normally in all the other areas, there's constant electrical interference that's interfering with everything else, and it sort of reduces your abilities. And so if you were able to the point of the article was, if we ever get to a point where you can have something, it's funny because it sounds sort of like Neuralink, but something that can actually attach to your brain and so on. They were basically theorizing that in the future, if you needed to multiply, let's suppose you needed to multiply 13-digit numbers or something like that, you would have a little pack with a button that says, okay, reduce the rest of what my brain is doing. And it would just, you would be able to multiply that in your head right there. So anyway, point of all that was, yes, people who are geniuses in certain areas can be totally screwed up in other areas. Guess what? Everything this guy's doing, you all have the ability to do that. But your brain is working normally in other areas. He's a genius in some way because his brain is screwed up in other areas, generating less interference. Gives him the abilities. What's it mean? It means he's might be a jerk in certain ways because his brain isn't working normally. And finally here, Samuel was in Sheol, the saints are in heaven alive. Yeah, that's kind of what I was pointing out.
Yes.
Oh, and we're on 53% not trusting Pope Leo. Pope Leo, you got some work to do if you want to earn everyone's trust here. We'll see you. We'll be watching. We'll be watching to see what you do.
We'll be watching.
All right, guys. Thanks, everyone, for joining us. Been fun. I did learn some stuff about the Pope that I did not know before. Interesting discussion, interesting questions. Good seeing AP squirm when he can't even defend against the powerful objections of Protestants. And it's sending him into using disguises so he doesn't have to destroy his reputation. Man, stick with the shofar. You suck at that.
I have a candle holder here, and I thought I could repurpose it because I don't have a candle for it. So.
Oh, okay, but you got a shofar.
So far, I haven't been able to.
And we've got, there's a vid by Down the Rabbit Hole on him. So apparently on this weird guy. All right, guys. Catch you all later. Should have a video out in the morning. We'll see what happens. Peace. Be based or else.
Peace.
Be
Stay
based.
with Islam.
Yeah, take that advice. That's what we can all agree on. Catch you later.